our work session. Have a motion to receive and file the call letter.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, this is probably our best meetings we have to get things done. And looking forward to this, and let's just jump right into the work. We've got a lot to do and to look at. I don't know if we'll get to all of it, but we'll give it our best shot. And we can jump around,
Sure,
with this, however we want to do it. But, right at the top of the list, we do have economic development. I think all of us agree that that's probably our number one task that we want to continue to work on all the time. And so I believe that we have our, Eden's going to give us a presentation. If you would like to start with that, and then we'll start our discussion.
All right, well, I'm going to kind of stand up and move away from there. So hi everyone, thank you for letting me come and talk during the work session. I placed a folder beside everyone, and if you want to open that folder up with me, I'm going to go through it really briefly. It is yours to keep, and if you have any questions, please feel free to follow up with me. On the left side, you will see a few documents, one being the City of Ashland Economic Development flyer that kind of goes through, what we do specifically to increase economic development activities for the city. And then if you go to the second one, it is the Smart Start Business Guide that is also available online. That specifically is more geared to small businesses and how they can kind of gravitate towards like permitting and business license, all of the things that they need to start their small business. And the final one in the back is actually a Build With Us flyer, and that's specifically for developers and investors that are interested in creating and building new opportunities in Ashland, specifically probably geared towards construction and things like that. Now, to the fun part, if you want to look to the right side, the very first information is just a little department update, and briefly go through hotel recruitment is definitely a top priority for us. Business retention and expansion, so that is more aligned towards our businesses that are already here. Specifically, the BRE survey that has been distributed annually will go out at the end of this month. Some fun details for restaurant and development updates. Midtown, I know a lot of people are interested in that, and the owner has showed it to a few potential occupants, and I've listed those there. Seven Brew, Jersey Mike's, and of course everybody is interested in Drake's. And if you can see down at the bottom, it definitely says that there are no changes in their current plans and they are still moving forward at this location. I have weekly conversations with Bluegrass Hospitality Group, and that is still the truth. I definitely understand everyone's frustration on timelines and things like that for Drake's construction, but I can assure you that all of the conversations that I've had with them are extremely positive, and I don't foresee any issues with them coming. Some other things is in like industrial projects. I know everybody is very interested in Cleveland Cliffs, and there's always ongoing discussions with them, regarding pricing of that industrial site and the next steps for that site. There's also some residential development, as in housing is very important, and there are a few townhome developments that are being discussed. And real estate and workforce, I have monthly meetings with different real estate agents and kind of get a property update. And the workforce development, we have a great development team with ACTC and KDMC and Marathon. So that's just a little update. There's also another document within this folder, and it is more or less, a kind of a strategic plan for economic development that goes over some visions, some goals that I see for the department. And then it's kind of a long document, so I won't go into the nitty-gritty as we have a very long agenda. But if you have any questions pertaining to that, feel free to call me or come by my office and we can set up a one-on-one meeting to further discuss any of those. And then the very last document is a copy of the City of Ashland Business Survey. Like I said, I've done those, since I started here, And I'm gonna continue to do those, and those will go out at the end of February, and then they're out for about 10-ish days, and it's also available on the website and sent out electronically, and I also print out paper copies as well. And as soon as those come in, I will formulate a report for you all to review, and we can continue to move forward in the way that we're moving forward. I wanted this to be short and sweet, but also, you know, a little bit of positivity in the sense that, you know, there's a lot of negativity that comes on social media, and you can't really fault people for not knowing. But, you know, as I stayed here today, I can definitely say, you know, economic development is moving forward in this city. There's a lot of good things happening, whether or not they're being posted about on Facebook. I can assure you that our department is working very, very hard, and we will continue to work very hard. And so that's a little
Well, I
economic development
understand,
update.
you know, there's, you know, mechanisms that are, you know, keep everything quiet, you know, that everybody's, you know, at Jersey Mike doesn't want everybody to know they're trying to do this or do that. You know, but, you know, the commission wants to be involved, and I'd like to find a way that we can filter information to them so they don't feel like we're not doing anything.
Absolutely.
You know, on Cleveland Cliffs with the property, or, you know, the vacant properties, you know, I think that's where we lose information. And I understand we have to sign the agreements that we don't talk about it and that kind of thing. But if we could figure out a way to do that, just a short update somehow. I'm not sure how we would do it.
No, I agree. I think communication between economic development professionals and commission and, you know, elected officials is really important. We just have to figure out what form of communication works best for this team.
Well, I mean, I come and ask, you know,
Yeah.
what are we working on, what are we doing? But it's hard for a lot of the commission to get to that point, so I'd like to figure out a way to feed them information without, you know, and I know they're not gonna go on Facebook and start posting it on Facebook.
Facebook's the new topics.
Mayor, we could do a better job of reaching out to each commissioner individually, maybe weekly, to give them an update on some things, if that's the desire.
I don't think there's a need to individually contact us, but there is a need to share more information with the board. And with the board, it's also with the public, and it's, I think the public has a right to know that we're active in pursuit of businesses, that we're active in pursuit of jobs. And, you know, the only way we can show that is in public meeting. I mean, rumor's one thing, but we need public disclosure. I hate the word transparency. I don't use the word transparency. It's information disclosure that we need to be involved with the public. And they have a right to know, up to a limit. We know that there are things we can't share, but there are things we need to share. And we need to kind of get that mindset. And I, frankly, in the last, this is my last year on the board, but in the first year, I've heard a lot of things going on, but there hasn't been a lot of public discussion, and I think we need to increase that. That's just my opinion.
Well, I think these work sessions are great. I think we ought to have them like once a quarter.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
talked
sure,
about
I think
that.
that's a
Mayor
great
and I
idea.
talked about that. Do you all like his data coming to you all maybe for each commission meeting?
Well, you know, this,
member
the
brief or once a
emailing that
month?
you're doing of reports is wonderful. And, you know, we're getting a lot of information, but that's not public disclosure. Again,
That's
all
what
the
I'm
way.
saying. Would you prefer a staff or a team member to brief the board
I
when you
think
meet? So
we used to do that.
Yes.
Mr. City Manager, if you remember, there was always one department head that maybe spent 10 or 15 minutes kind of updating, you know, what's going on in their department. I think that's a good thing. I think,
Sir.
I like that.
Yes, sir.
This past year where you started doing that, we've got good information on it.
Yeah.
I agree.
I mean, go ahead.
You know, I have a question for economic development staff. hurdles that are in place that this commission may be able to look at moving out of the way? You know, we want to be as business friendly as possible. You know, I've heard concerns, as well as I know others on this board, about code enforcement, you know, building restrictions. I honestly receive calls probably once every couple of weeks about those concerns. Is there any hindrance that you all may be aware of from the public that may prevent a business from coming to our community?
Yeah, the biggest hurdle that we have when dealing with new businesses coming into the community is communication. If we can get with them early, and I think that is the message to encourage anyone who's interested in opening up a business in Ashland to get with Eden or myself as early as possible. Because there are a lot of permits and other things, they have licenses they have to navigate through, and the sooner they can engage with us, the easier we can sort of navigate them through that maze. Because it's, you know, just by its nature, you know, you're talking about plan review, pulling permits, I mean, it is an intense process, but it is that way for a reason. We have to guarantee public safety when we approve any construction. So I guess the message would be, encourage them to get involved with us as soon as possible. We can work with Brad.
And this guide, I think, is excellent.
I think she did a fantastic
You know,
job. Yeah.
Great
now you can give this
presentation.
and walk them right through
Yeah.
it.
Absolutely.
But the sooner we can get engaged, the easier we can make it on them. What happens a lot of times is that the work happens, they're already halfway down the road before they've even contacted us about pulling permits. Well, then they have to back out of what we've already done because it doesn't meet code, and that's when things get sticky. But what we found is, first off, the reviews we get from outside developers who aren't used to developing in Ashland, always very positive. But those are the ones who are typically, they know they're coming, they know the drill. They're coming from the outside, they go into communities all the time. They know their first move is to contact their building inspector, their code enforcement, and their plan reviewers to get going forward. But if they've only developed in Ashland, perhaps they don't have that sort of exposure. And that's really just getting that message out to get them as involved as they can be early, so we can help them save. And what's the most important thing to small businesses? Time and money. And that's what we can do. We can help them save both if we can get in early.
You know, my goal as a city commissioner, and I'm sure it is for the rest of the board and the mayor, is, you know, we want to roll out the red carpet to business. And we want to be as business friendly as we can be. So whatever that may look like, you know, I think we need to come to a conclusion and move forward with that. You know, I know previous commission has put an earmark of $2 million for economic development. What does that look like? What does that earmark, what does that $2 million, what will that do for economic development in our
So that
community?
$2 million was a bold move, and it's been sitting in a fund here at the city for a while, and we've been very prudent with that money on how we're going to use it. We did dip into it one time for an incentive to bring local headquarters into Ashland. They needed some help with some parking, so we did dip into it, but that's not much, but we did dip in. As you know, I mean, we have the largest piece of industrial property in the city limits that is, you know, actually, why don't I do this right now? I gave you an update, handed out right before the meeting, sort of where we are with the Coke plant property. As you can see from that handout, it's titled Milestone Update, former Coke plant, February 5th. I talked to Jake Elder this morning with Cox Environmental. He's representing the company that was hired by Cleveland Cliffs to do all the environmental remediation for that property. We can skip down. We've been over everything through E already, although you might want to note that the EPA, US EPA has approved the remediation completion report as of October 20th. Right now, the environmental covenant draft is in the hands of the Kentucky Department of Environmental Protection for review. What they do is they review it informally, they provide notes back to the company will then make those recommended changes, and then that will be submitted for record. What you see in that requirement, number 2, in that environmental covenant is a site management plan. That is in progress right now, and that is daily communication between Cox Environmental and Cleveland Cliffs and Kentucky Department of Environmental Protection. But what Environmental Protection has already given them the go-ahead to do is to file the consent decree termination rather. So what that does, why that's important, is that termination of the consent decree then allows the oversight for the coke plant property to go from the federal EPA to the Kentucky Department of Environmental Protection in perpetuity. So at that point, EPA's out of it, we're dealing with the folks we know in Frankfurt. And long story short, back to your original question about the $2 million, where we've sat in economic development, we've always kind of held that money close to us, thinking that at some point we're gonna need to dip into that for something on that property, whether it's acquisition, infrastructure improvements. We felt like that would be the most prudent use for those funds because it would probably lead to the most bang for our buck in return on new tax revenue in the form of payroll tax or other utility costs coming into the city. So, no, we've got one shot with that $2 million. We've sort of been stingy with it. We're holding on to see what we can do with the coke plant property.
I don't know if it's a one-shot deal or not. Maybe there's a four-shot deal in there. I mean, it can be used whatever way is most appropriate in your department. I mean, it doesn't have to be reserved to one $2 million deal. I mean, that's just my thought.
I think that's a commitment.
Well, I mean, there's enough property there that it could be several different
Yeah.
projects. But, so the ones that gave us the updates, the monthly updates, it's out of their hands now into the state, right?
So yes and no. They're still communicating with the state on the environmental covenant that has to be filed. So they're negotiating the terms of that covenant.
Okay,
back
so
and
they're
forth.
still interacting with,
And this is the same company, Cox Environmental, who's also done the Westworks property for Cleveland Cliffs as well. So anyway, back to your question, Commissioner Reimer, that's sort of where we've always felt like that $2 million would be best spent.
You're
We
talking
would love to
about
have
it
more.
being used for property acquisition.
Acquisition, infrastructure upgrades.
Gotcha.
My guess is probably mostly acquisition, if not all.
Thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
I will say, 20 years ago, Ashland was, right or wrong, was labeled as not business friendly. I mean, if I said, a show of hands here, who's heard that? And hell, everybody would raise their hand. I think it has improved, and I appreciate that fact.
In fact, we can actually quantify that. One thing Eden's done since she started working here, thank you for that. Eden has put out surveys to our business community every year. And to be clear, it's our business community, the ones that we work with on a daily basis and that she interacts with at least a couple times a year. And the reviews through those surveys have been phenomenal. And she's more than willing to share. And in fact, our 2026 survey is due to be released at the end of this month. So we'll share those results too. There's a misconception, I think, public misconception versus the reality of what we hear from our business, which is.
Well, again,
very
it's
positive.
communication.
Yeah.
Disclosure.
Well, I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate your department. Your door's always open, and I hear good things. I'm in the mall every day. There's 65 businesses under one roof. And I hear, aggressively recruiting people that are appropriate for the space. I hear good things downtown and in South Ashland, and I always hear your names, Catherine and Eden and you, and so I'm pleased. But getting back to, just every commission meeting, maybe 2 or 3 minutes of a presentation of an update might be good, just what you can share.
Sure.
Some things you can't share.
The only thing I'll say with that is that economic development is typically pretty slow moving.
Yeah.
So, for instance, a retail project or a restaurant project, the life cycle of that is, granted, it's been moving a little bit quicker here recently with some of our backfill restaurants, but it's typically about 12 to 18 months. Yeah, look at how Drake's has gone. So a lot of the updates will probably be,
Well, that's
continued
okay.
communication.
The public needs to hear that, because I hear it on the phone. When's this coming?
Yeah.
Well, we're in the process, and this is what it's gonna take. It might be months.
And what you said, I certainly appreciate the support this commission's shown our department, and of course, your city manager, Tony Grubb. And we do appreciate that support. So thank you.
we give support and we expect results.
That's exactly what you should do.
And I would say thank you to Chris and his team, but just to recap, so we want someone from Chris's department at least once a month to come in and do an update.
Yeah.
Okay. And I would just, I'll let Ms. Veach make a comment, a real quick comment. We had talked about the $2 million that is earmarked or legally restricted in the general fund balance. That is still restricted, but I'll let her make the further comment on it.
It is actually just restricted fund balance. There is no set aside actual cash for that, because when they did it, they set aside a portion of the fund balance. And you have a fund with no liquidity, so there's not 2 million that is sitting there that would be available for use.
Meaning
Unless you-
it's not growing because it's not set aside, right?
There's no cash set aside.
Yeah.
So to give an incentive at this point, it would have to be borrowed funds.
As we move through this, though, I do.
I just,
I do
I
have some
see
options.
puzzled looks back here.
Yeah.
So, any comment?
No, no.
Okay, all right.
Is there a way, do we have to go in and do something? Does this board have to make a decision?
If you was to spend a portion of that fund balance, if we had liquidity in it now, the board would have to go in and approve for us to actually expend it, yes.
Yes,
Well, there had to be a budget adjustment.
you would have to do a budget
Yes.
adjustment.
Yes.
You're
So it's
saying
not
there's
there.
not liquidity in the.
There never was. They never did say set aside, put $2 million
I got you.
in a separate
When
account.
was this done? I mean,
Commissioner,
I
I'll
think
have to go
20
back to look.
Say like maybe 3 years ago,
2021, 2022,
that longer? Okay.
yeah, it was during COVID.
Something I'll present to you all later is I like to create a economic stabilization fund, not an account, but a fund that's separate, that we'll start putting money in every quarterly to build up our fund balances to where we have liquidity. But I'll get to that when the appropriate time comes.
All right. Let's move on. Anybody want to have one they want to go after? All right, let's just move down the line then. We would love to have a final downtown project cost and remaining issues or.
yeah, I think it's not just the financial, but
Right.
those actions that had to be taken beyond the, the rewiring. We just need a summary
Sure.
presentation.
Let me just give you a couple, 3 numbers, and then we'll have Barry come up and give you the
I mean, I
detail.
didn't necessarily mean today, I just.
No, we've actually got the stuff here for you.
They've got it prepared, I think.
The actual project cost total was 9.2 million. The state gave us 7.95, and the city locally contributed 1.25 million. And
Do you have that in document?
Sir, I can get it to you. That's just my notes. to
Give me
this
those
person.
numbers again, if you would.
Yes, sir. 9.2 million total. 7.95 million state. Local match 1.25 million.
When this project was first thought of, how much did they think it was gonna cost? It ended up 9.2 million.
Our portion was, what, 400,000 to begin with?
I was going 4 to 6.
Yeah.
Okay, so we went
That sounds
over
right.
800,000.
Yeah, the bids come in higher than they expected, and then they did the change orders.
Was the original estimate 7 million?
Barry might be able to speak with that. I just knew what I had to come up with.
Does that include does that
What was the original cost estimate of the downtown project, the award-winning downtown project?
I'm not 100% for sure. I want to say whenever I first got here, I think I heard somewhere like 8 million, 7 million, that range. If I remember anyway.
Does that include the legal fees? Didn't we have a legal bill that we had to pay?
That's for the conference center,
Center.
yeah. That's all
Separate,
inclusive of
separate.
engineering and construction cost.
That's the number I gave earlier, the 9.2.
9.2.
Would you like to take me through some of this?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's water.
So, this project was funded through 3 different funding sources. We had KYTC, KYOVA, and then the city local match. The project was broken up into multiple different sub-projects of the project, and they were all number coordinated between either 244, 307, or 3022. And basically, whenever the city first entered into these agreements with the state and with KYOVA, they broke down city streets into these individual projects. And for the sake of funding, these projects had, I say projects, it's all one project, but all different contracts associated with it. They had different split allocations. So for instance, like for 244 was 7th to 12th, and then 18th to 21st. So this portion of the project was paid at an 80-20 split, 80% covered by KYOVA, 20% covered by the city local match. And for 307, that's the downtown area, 13th to 18th. So portions of that were paid 80% by KYOVA, other portions were paid 80% by KYTC, and then the city provided the local match of 20%. And the same thing with 302. I believe that was actually side streets, like 15th and 16th, from Winchester to Greenwood. And the 3 main costs that total up to that 9.2 million. So the main costs that we had were we had total construction cost, we had total construction administration and inspection cost, and then we had design services cost. So for the total construction cost, that was a little over 7.96 million. And with that, the state matched around, or the state provided funding for a little over 6.92 million, and the city local match was around 1.04. These are all round numbers, or give or take, a little bit one way or another. For the construction, inspection, and administration services, so this was services that we paid at, we paid Palmer for construction admin. That was $555,000 with the state match of $482,000, and the city local match of $73,000. And then the final one was the design services for the project. So this was done probably 2022 or 23, maybe even before that. And this totaled a little over $690,000 with the state providing $552,000, and the city local match was a little over $138,000. So it's all multiple contracts split up between multiple different funding sources that pay for the project.
Has there been a final acceptance of the project at this point?
Essentially, yes. Yeah, there's nothing else that we've identified as anything else that's owed, and there's nothing that we've identified that would be coming back in as reimbursements. Due to the ongoing litigation, there were some documents that were requested from KYTC that I was not comfortable with Barry signing, and Blake Jones is working through us with that. But essentially, yeah, there's nothing further to be
That's
done.
State Engineering Group.
No, that's with
State Highway.
that's KYTC, yeah.
So again, we don't anticipate having to pay another dime for this.
Not that we've been able to identify, no. There's nothing hanging out there that we're aware of.
So who does it belong to?
What
Do we own it, or is it still underneath the state jurisdiction if we want to alter anything?
My understanding is the roadway is still owned by the state. Is that
Okay.
your understanding, Mr.?
My understanding as well, yep.
Can we alter anything?
Not without their approval. Is that your understanding as well, Mr. Atkins?
That's correct.
What about the landscaping?
Anything curb to curb is within state jurisdiction. You cannot alter anything without their approval. Anything from the curbs That's different. That's within city ownership or city right-of-way. Is that
Hallelujah.
your understanding as well?
That's my understanding, yes.
So we can change that.
What is it?
We can alter that.
You can alter anything outside the curbs without, I mean, you can alter anything within the area. It's just within the curb to curb, you're gonna have to, this city would have to get state's permission.
So we can alter the landscape.
It
I think
depends
you
on
can.
whether or not it's within the curb. So if you're going down Winchester, anything from this side of the curb to that side of the curb, in the middle of the street, that's state. And they have to give approval to say yes or no, you can do it or you can't do it. Anything outside that area, on the sidewalks and the curb areas, not in the middle of the roadway, that's within our purview. And
I
yes,
think
at this
what you're
point,
saying is, yes, we can, because it's on the other side of the curve.
well, it's specific on which part you're talking about. I mean, there's been discussions at some point about the median at the intersection with Greenup and Winchester on the viaduct end. There's been discussions about sod and areas that are along Winchester. It's just specific as to where it's
at.
actually located.
Is it the grass you don't like?
No, I hate that tumbleweed. Whatever, it looks like tumbleweed. It looks like Death Valley coming through there at different times.
It
I
is
want
our
that.
intention to change that out to.
It is your
sod.
intention. Okay,
Yes,
that's
sir.
what I want to hear.
Yes, sir.
I love to hear
Doesn't
it.
mean we can't change it, we just have to get approval before we change it. Is that kind of?
We have to
the
get
deal?
approval.
That's our
before-
understanding.
Not the
And
grass.
That would include, I mean,
Not the
there's
grass.
been discussion about the idea of reversing the parking and having pull-in instead of back-in and making adjustments that would make that a possibility. That would require state approval.
That's our understanding, yes.
So you mentioned the median there at Greenup Avenue where it goes on to Winchester, near, down by the mall. So will we make that request to them? Because, I mean, I think it looks awful at this point.
That's something that if we want to have it changed, I believe if it's in between the curb, yes, we would need to seek state
Yeah,
approval.
it would, I mean, it's the median.
Yeah, it would require,
I mean, really, it's
It
just to
requires-
dress it up, is what we're doing. I don't think we're changing any part of the structure or anything.
it's my understanding it would still require approval, correct? If we
That's-
touch it.
That's correct. I mean, just simply put, it's not ours. And just like we wouldn't want them going into our areas of non-state-owned property or right-of-way and changing stuff without our permission or approval. From a legal standpoint, the only thing I can tell you is if it's not ours, we can't touch it without their approval.
They got $7.9 million there. I guess I would be a little,
I just think it looks awful. I'd like
Yeah.
to see it fixed.
Yeah, I would too.
Ever how we do it, I mean, we'll just figure it out, I guess.
I agree.
Okay. All right,
Thank you, Barry.
thanks, Barry.
Thanks, Barry.
Thank you.
We do have, I know you all wanted some updates on the committees, and with your permission, we can move into the homeless committee and kind of give you an update. We have some people here that can give us a short presentation on some of the things that we're doing, but just briefly, we pulled together the committee, and we have a wide variety of professionals that deal with the homeless all the time around the table. And with that said, that they decided to help with the K count, which is a state organized count of homeless. And matter of fact, that was just, they were gonna do that. This committee was gonna help, and they had to redo that count. And they're gonna do it starting at 6 a.m. and it goes for like 12 or so hours or more, on February the 25th, just to update you on that. They also want to do an additional count in the summer to give a better count, to see exactly where we're at and what we're dealing with in Ashland. Let's see, consensus is within the group that they want to attack the problem in keeping people from becoming homeless. And what can we do as a group to make that work? You know, for example, there are some people that they don't want the help. That's where they're at and they're fine with it. But, you know, when someone runs into difficulty, they lose their job, they lose their home, now they're homeless. And how can we help and stop that from happening? That's one of the things that they've actually come up with, they want to focus on. And we have some programs that I'll tell you about here in a second. Some of the things that they were talking about that we haven't really focused on yet was a lot of the people, the individuals that are pushing the carts around, that's everything that they own. And you'll see them pushing them everywhere. And the reason is, because the professionals say, is because they're afraid of losing that, those possessions. And they don't have anywhere to put those. So they don't go get, you know, the necessary treatment that they need, medical treatment or something, because they're afraid to lose their stuff. So we're looking at ways that we may be able to, they may be able to lock that stuff up, and there where now they can go get the needed help that they need, and maybe possibly get them out of homelessness. We've looked at, we've got individuals who've come in about storage containers, how we can work with them. But the main project that we've looking at is housing, and helping those individuals that need the help that are on the street. One is we would love to see another Scope Towers, a Scope Tower 3 developed. We have to figure out how to do that, but that's one of the things we'd like to see, an additional housing. But the House of Grace has come to the committee, or is actually part of the committee, to do a project. They're calling it the Dream Center. It was after a project in California, Los Angeles. So we do have Brett Carr here from the House of Grace to give us a little project with, or outline of the project, how we can help with that. When I say we, I'm talking about the committee. But I think it's another homeless shelter. But what makes it unique is the programs that they are going to require out of those individuals staying there to help them not become homeless anymore. And I think that's probably what we want to look at. But Mr. Tarr, if you would like to come forward and give us a presentation. This is
I think it was
correct?
compatible with the presentation I've had. It's not compatible, but I can stand up and tell you about it. So, but my name is Brett Tarr. I'm from the House of Grace, and I'm the outreach coordinator. And we began about 4 months ago, as we joined the committee, looking at how we can help this. And it took off. It just took off. An incredible amount of support has come together, and when we looked at what Pastor Gerardo Mejia and his wife Kathy, they're from California. Well, she's from here, but he's from California. But they were going to a church called Angelus Temple, and that was they supported and built the Dream Center out there, and they saw how good that Dream Center was with all the different programs they had for the homeless, for the transitional housing. And that's where we got the idea to start moving forward with this, because this is what they had envisioned when they first came here and started a church. It was not only to love God and spread the gospel, but it was also to support the community. And they saw that as the way to do it here in this community when they began this church. So we're located on 2413 Greenup Avenue, and it's right down in the area where you see a lot of homeless people. It's about 2 blocks from the neighborhood. It's about 4 blocks from the emergency shelter with the Salvation Army. So we're centralized in a great location. What we're looking at doing is buying the property next door, which is the old AEP building, and turn that into a transitional housing unit, but also a program attached to it based around case management. Case management is the key, and I think everybody in the committee and all the different agencies that we are talking to began to say we've got to have wraparound services when they come in
to this transitional housing unit, have about, hopefully we can get about 80 units in there. It's a pretty good space, it's about 30,000 square feet. But what we want to do is not only wrap around services, but also build it a structured program. We just had just very quickly, we saw a huge difference in the way we were running our warming center. We had during that storm this past week, we had about a 9-day operation. Opened up the church to everyone who could come in and saw how it was unstructured, no rules, just come in and sleep, have some food. But then we saw how chaotic it can get. And very quickly, with all the people with the different issues, mental health issues, different just disabilities, also if they're in active addiction. So we saw all these people coming together, and you put a bunch of adults in that same room, it can be chaotic if you don't have rules. And so we developed rules.
If I could interrupt just a minute, how many folks did you
We took
draw
about
into
32, 33 people over that 9-day period. We had about 17 to 20 maximum at one period, one point in time staying with us. We had on-site people cooking. We had all volunteers cooking 3 meals a day, and people could come in and sit down. We have people in cars with dogs and animals, so we house dogs and animals. Something that the Salvation Army can't do or won't do is put the pets up. We didn't see too many people with children. That's what I was expecting. But you did see people who were living in their cars come in and get warm and use the facility. But it was a great outpouring of the community to support that. We had so much supplies and things coming in just from people, when we put it out on Facebook that we're doing this, huge amount of support coming in left and right from different organizations. Community Kitchen donated food. There was just so much support. But we know that needed a structured program. And so when we started looking at we call it the Hands of Grace, and this program, it would also include KDMC having medical personnel on board that needs assessment, because we had a few medical incidents we needed to take care of. We weren't trained, but we had a gentleman who overdosed, and he was Narcan. A gentleman knew how to use Narcan, got him back to life. He went to the hospital, came back the same day, and came back and said, I'm going on long-term care because I need help. And he wanted to thank us, and he was crying, thanking us to save his life. Because he knew that if he hadn't come to that open, warm place where he could receive that service, he would have died. If he went to a McDonald's, anywhere else, he would have died that day. So it's important to understand that if you open your arms, you can help people. If you just be willing to open up your hands and say, come in, we'll help you. And we did that, and we saw the results. We sent 6 people, just from the warming center, 6 people went to recovery. 1 person went to a mental facility to get mental health help. And again, it's just an incredible amount of outpouring of love over a 9-day period. And we see this as an example of what can be done over at the Hands of Grace. Now, the Hands of Grace, we've already formed, kind of moving it forward. It started picking up speed pretty quickly, so we formed a 501c3. That's been, we have a board, we've met twice, and as members of the community is KDMC. We have Heidi Moore, who's part of the homeless committee. She's the director of transitions at KDMC. We've got Ann Perkins, we got Mike on the board, as well as representatives from Regroup. And so those are all the people that would be inside our organization, working with case managers from Regroup and from Pathways, as well. We also have a board member from Pathways. So all those there to help those people with what they need with case management, as also getting them directed to the outside services. The structured program, the housing unit, would be structured so that they learn discipline, learn living skills, things that they don't know how to live in housing units when they get there. So this would house people up to about 2 years. And that housing unit would be a continuous, it wouldn't be like a lockdown program, but it's going to be a program that they have to have responsibilities. They'll learn the things that they need to do to be successful in the community, and when they go back and integrate into Scope 3, that's where you want them, and or into any kind of Section 8 housing, you want to be able to be successful at that. So many people that come off the street, they go into housing, they're not successful, they're back out in the street. So this also incorporates people coming out of reentry, out of jail, out of different recovery centers. All those people have problems coming back out into the street. Basically, they're putting them back in the street. They're just going to do the same thing unless they have a structured program. So that's what we saw as what we could do. So we've moved forward. We've hired basically a grant writer, a professional grant writer to help us build all the funding. We were working with Chris. He started, Chris had started in early, talking to him. So he's been a part of the committees. We've been talking to him, trying to get all the things. We've talked to the developer. We're getting ready to, Savannah Antwerp's going to be the attorneys that help us with the transaction. The church has approved at their last board meeting to go ahead and purchase the building. But there's a lot of contingencies in case the building's not the right building. So we've started looking at other buildings potentially in case this building's not the right building for that project. What else we can do? So it's been a lot of things coming forward. To do the environmental is one of the biggest pieces. We know that building has a lot of problems. We had that scheduled for January 19th, but when we talked to the realtor, she said that we needed to go ahead and make the offer first, and then we could get inside and do the evaluation of the ESA phase 1. So we've already scheduled the folks. We've contacted everybody to be part of this, and everyone's on board, and so we're moving forward. It's just, it takes a little longer than you expect sometimes. We all have this enthusiasm to go forward, but that's what we're doing right now.
But I think what sets it apart is the participants are held accountable, for what they're doing inside, the shelter.
Yes.
And Mike's been very successful with his program. It kind of models a little bit after what they do. But the committee, all those individuals will be able to be a part of that program to help them, provide all those services.
Right, and this takes them off the street. I think everyone sees them on the street. This is taking them off the street, putting them into housing so they can be successful up to 2 years. I want to say 2-year program, but it's up to 2 years. And each person's, at different stages in their life, different stages of need. We're not a rehab program. We're not a mental health facility. But what we do is we connect them to the right people to get into those services that they need. And because they have to conquer those things first. Those are the barriers, and it's about eliminating the barriers and making sure they're going to be successful. But it's also going to create, I think we're talking about economic development. We estimate about 15 to 20 jobs over there, plus a lot of volunteers. Inside the program, you're going to have Regroup, Pathways, and KDMC, who have agreed. We've already got an MOU with
We all
Regroup.
have been a part of that committee.
Rick, I think it's really important, it sounds like what your organization may be doing and Mike's organization does. Hand-ups are better than handouts.
That's right.
Unfortunately, we have, our community is a very caring and a very giving community.
Mhm.
We have a lot of handouts,
Mhm.
but we've got to start transitioning to hand-ups, because if we don't transition to hand-ups, we're going to be stuck,
Right.
with a large transient population.
Mhm.
And I think for the most part, the transient population looks for hand-ups. So
Mhm.
providing more hand-ups is really key.
No, we during just, I worked 2 years with Mike, or 2 years for Mike, and working over at the church, and I've seen it. You'll see people coming in looking for, there's both. There's people looking for hand-ups, and then people you need just a little push, and man, they take off because they want to make something out of their life. And it's getting them to want that. And that's what the important piece is. It's the hardest piece, is getting them to want something different from what their life is living. But you got to put them in a program where they can see it work and see how people are being successful and moving out and getting a job. So there's going to be education there. There's going to be job training, and we've already talked to different organizations about coming in and doing job training, especially for the restaurant industry. So there's many things we're doing and we're planning, and we've just developed 2 committees, a program side and basically a grant writing or fundraising side, so we can get this thing going. So
Thanks for what you're doing.
no problem.
I appreciate you, Breck, and
I've got a couple
Cheyenne,
of questions about the
and House of
committee.
Grace. I appreciate your vision, and I think this is wonderful. If anything good happened out of this storm, it's your warming center, and then how that played out. That you saw the need for it, and you saw what people needed, and so I appreciate you.
When the committee is meeting, are we giving the public notice of the?
Yes, it's been held just like our meeting.
And secondly, did the committee meet during the weather issue in terms of whether there were special things that needed to be done during that time frame? And it sounds like some of the folks addressed the things that
They
needed to be
coordinated it,
done.
we didn't meet, but they coordinated it, you know, and got the information out for House Grade.
You know, you mentioned the organization or the group that talked about another scope towers or another, you know, low-income housing. I think low-income housing is good, but we've also got to look at work-ready housing. You know, if we've got economic development coming into our community, whether it's Ashland, Wood County, or Greenup County, Lawrence County, Ohio, folks need a place to live. You know, we have a lot of low-income housing here, but we need more work-ready housing. That way folks, you know, maybe nurses that move into our community, managers of restaurants, you know, if we get a manufacturing facility or small manufacturing, those folks, you know, we need to look at that. Michelle and I talked, I think last year, when I got elected, we discussed about looking to see if there was a way we could do another Pollard project, something similar to Pollard.
I think maybe when we have one of the work sessions in the quarter, we could actually invite Frontier Housing and see what kind of programs that they have to help. Frontier
Yeah,
Housing.
they're actually part of our
Yeah, they were,
committee. I mean, there's, just for example, there's CARES, Ramey East Step, the neighborhood, House of Grace, Hillcrest Bruce, Lovewell Center, KDMC, Welcome House, Salvation Army. All of these people, you know, deal, United Way, ACTC, which, you know, we tap into all of that, those individuals to find out how to take care of that. But I'd love to see what's going on, what you just talked about, our urban renewal, really kicking them into gear.
And I appreciate the proactive plan about looking at East Ashland, zoning requirements on the lots. You know, a lot of those lots are shotgun style home lots, 50 by whatever, 50 by 100. We know that you can build a house, on a 50 by 100 lot, but zoning regulations don't allow that. So we need to look at repealing those zoning regulations if possible.
Tiny homes,
Yeah,
tiny
Or
homes.
creating a special district.
Or creating a special district.
Yeah.
I think we need to put Mike Miller on that committee, because I talked to him about scope 3, and he's got another different idea about this. So I think he needs to be included.
Commissioner Dude, if I could, Mike Miller's been very involved in conversations with the AU before.
Okay.
Doing some spot development, and also they've discussed growth with both the board and scope. So
Okay.
he's been involved in that group.
Okay.
All right, any other questions? All right, thanks, Brett, for coming. Which one?
IT small teams.
Yeah, Alton, you want to talk about the IT, the small teams that you've developed?
Yeah, sure. A lot of great savings here. I'd have to refer this to the resident expert here. I think maybe two of them, Ryan Conley and Adam. Is Adam back here? Yes, sir. If you take to come forward and give us a brief update, please. These two guys are like Steve Jobs.
Yeah. Well, our mission was pretty easy.
I was going to say Bill Gates, but that's probably not a popular choice right now.
Right now. CM told us to streamline the process, to reduce friction, and eliminate and elevate the performance of the IT infrastructure. So, coming in, that was our plan, and that's what we've done. We've consolidated a lot of things. We've learned ways to basically take all the different departments, different IT structures, and merge them into one, and that brought us a lot of value because we could consolidate all those licenses into one, and then we're operating off of one system. Some of the stuff that Adam will talk about is a lot of the hardware. We know the initial cost that we were able to get down. Right now, we are on pace, because we're in the process of it, between $300,000 and $400,000 of reduction in annual recurring cost. And that's from consolidating all of the, like our Outlook 365, a lot of our security systems, softwares, cloud systems, and all that. So That's a really good savings for us. As a bonus, Parks Department really saved the day. We were having trouble because we have to run wire with all this new stuff. So we just had a lot of old equipment that couldn't run off of the current wiring. Oddly, that's about $1,000 a drop when we got a bid. They've been helping us every day. There's a team of 3 at Jason, Caleb, and Mason who've been knocking it out for us. And I mean, we're talking about $185,000 savings just in what we will accomplish, knowing how many drops we have to pull just by using our team, our city team. And that's the labor part. Adam's doing most of the hard work with the equipment. You wanna throw in?
Yeah, so when we started this last year, this started off as basically getting internet to all of our city sites. And we plan to start out with 18 sites. Currently, well, that has morphed into internet access control, which is your key cards that get you in the building, and phone systems. So now that we're doing everything, currently we're at 15 sites completed. We've got the major ones out of the way: city building, police department, fire department. I think we're actually going to finish at about 20 sites total. We're probably about 5 more to go. But that's getting in the infrastructure, the network, the backbone of everything that's going to run everything to where, you know, we can go from 3 to 4 vendors per site to just us.
Yeah, so for instance, we had over 15 vendors that we've already dealt with that we consolidated down to 1. So instead of paying 15 people, you know, we're paying 1 at a much reduced rate because we're doing most of the work on that once we get it set up. Another thing they had us look at with our cellular bill, it's pretty impressive. So we were able to negotiate that down from devices up to providing them to us for free to 90% savings. We got the accounts down over 100,000 just by consolidating that, changing services, having a bid process, and we've told them, like, we're going to competitively bid every 2 years. We want you in the game, but you know, let us know what it is. So the good thing too that you may or may not know about is with our contracts we were able to get with kind of you've heard of FirstNet, I guess, but all these services now offer kind of a government service like that. And part of that contract that we're able to work in there is that they don't hold you to a 1, 2, 5 year contract anymore. So when we negotiate these deals, that's why we tell them up front, you can help us out with the equipment, that's great, we really appreciate it, and that makes you more competitive, but we're not signing a contract. So we're trying to stay out of that business if we can. You know, if we see that it benefits the city, and so far it has dramatically benefited us. Phone system, Adam touched on that. That seems to be going pretty good. The biggest hurdle we're on right now is we're tackling our ISPs, our internet service provider. That's where we're struggling the most. Now that we have the equipment in place, we call it the backbone equipment, we can see. So once the internet comes in your building and then goes out, we can see where most of our issues are, and it's our internet, it's our ISPs that are coming in. Some buildings don't have enough. Some buildings are running off of basically residential internet, and we do everything, if you don't know, with the internet. So we are currently evaluating that. We have some bids out now. Kinetic is coming in strong. They've ran a new fiber backbone all the way through here. Spectrum's still strong. And we're just seeing where they're at with it and who's going to provide us the best deal for what we need at every city, or in every site. So basically, now with this backbone equipment that Adam's put in, we can see how much data they're using. So we don't buy too much or too little, right? We know exactly where it is. With our phone system, we can tell you who's getting how many calls. You know, do we have enough service reps there? You know, how long are we staying on the call? Like, one of our goals that we said is no one has to wait more than 60 seconds when the phone rings, and they're knocking it out of the park on that downstairs. But they can see the metrics in real time, so the supervisors can see it too. And then it kind of does a round robin on the phone call trees. But this tech is really, we're just trying to make the tech be its own team and work for the city the best we can. So when we give you all these decisions, we can say, well, it's because, you know, we're getting 600 calls and we used to get 300 calls, you know, that sort of thing. But along the way, we've just been doing what the city manager told us to do, is to be more efficient. So,
but it's, I mean, not only efficient, I mean, but we're getting the job done in-house and saving, you know, from the contract that we had, you know, well, we paid over $1 million, I know.
We paid 1.1 million to VC3 with only negligible improvements. The phone system alone, it was going to cost us every 5 years, probably 175,000 just to update these things. I say they've saved us with their improvements and stuff. I say 900,000 and $1 million, and some of these gifts are going to keep on giving because they've took us out of the dark ages in some of these areas and we're actually got improved technology with these savings.
New technology, correct? New
Well,
printers,
and
new
some of the savings, you know, they've let us reinvest back in the city. So, you know, like we're over at FD now putting in, you know, all new stuff. Well, that's great, and new cameras and all that. And so, you know, it is a savings, but we're not just leaving it as savings. We're reinvesting into the equipment so that, well, for instance, your keys, right? You know, we used to have, I don't know, Chief, how many keys do you have? 200 keys? I don't know how many he's got. But now you have one. You know, and we can instantly turn it off and on by the employee, whatever the situation may be. You know, we can add people as we go, that stuff. So we, like she said, that reinvestment is really taking us further too, because now we don't have to go around collecting keys. It's the little things, right? You don't have to go around changing locks because somebody lost a key. It's just all these little things that have really been adding up. And we do an okay job at tracking it, but Adam's been moving so fast. Like we really are just plugging. When we get in the groove, we just go for it. So far so good. I mean, it definitely comes with its risk, but we're trying to mitigate those as we go along. A lot of it is we moved a lot of our hardware off premise. So the servers and stuff that you're probably familiar with that we always have to invest in, and those are, you know, sometimes $40,000, $50,000 a piece. A lot of this stuff we have moved off premise to cloud storage so we can have a very serious set of redundancy and backup and stuff. But most importantly for you all, we're not buying them every few years. You know, we're spreading that out, and by doing that, we get the best and latest technology all the time. So it's the fastest. So our next big investment is the internet. We've got to take that very seriously because we're using more cloud storage than we have, but it's a much smaller price to pay than hardware.
Chief, this also provides cybersecurity, correct?
Yes. Yeah, we have multi-layers. We usually don't discuss it in the open meeting, but we have multiple layers of that security. I mean, as far as the branding and how we do it. But yes, thank you for pointing out. It's a big part of it. There's some expense there. But again, that's what Michelle's let us do is, you know, we ask, we show the savings, you know, we compare it to the old, compare it to new, and say, hey, this would be really good. And she's, you know, keeps us in check, but it's been green light all the way. So.
They've helped us on our operational cost reduction. It's been significant.
Great job.
Yeah, kudos to these two guys. Absolutely stellar job.
Absolutely.
On this smart team,
Yeah.
for sure. I appreciate
Hope it keeps going smooth, but so far it's going pretty good. Thank you all.
All right, thanks, guys.
Might be good at some point, Tony, to document what these savings are and what the changes have been.
Actually, I have.
We are working on the tab.
Okay.
I've got it in my state of the city address that I'm going to send to you guys, and you can look at it.
Sounds good.
They gave me more information than I need. So I'm right now going through it, but we'll be able to talk about a lot of those savings, and they are significant.
How much does that pull you away from your real job?
Well,
I've been a police
let me
officer.
get pulled away. I just have to work more. I'd love to tell you I can move on. It just takes more time. So I'm just here longer.
And you don't get overtime, right? Good. All right. That's the main thing. That's another cost saving.
All right, another thing that's on our mind is the budget. You know, we started early on it, but we got on here about acceleration
Just
of it.
off the top of my head, I think we're probably looking at April to start the budget work process and adopt. Michelle, maybe you can speak to some more detail.
We gave the budgets to the departments in October. They gave them back to finance in December. The city manager is going to provide you budgets in mid-March. And then we'll start budget work sessions in April. So we're basically going to cut 2 months off the process.
That's good. Yeah,
Great.
like to see that.
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. Do we want to talk about the line of credit? It's
We
under
certainly
line of
can,
credit
we're
and the
certainly
current
able.
financial performance.
We're certainly able, yes, sir.
In January, when we took, you took office, the city did not have sufficient cash flow to meet its obligations. So as you know, we took immediate corrective action in establishing a line of credit where we could pay our basic operation expense and prevent disruption of city services. So I think the city manager gave you all a goal that he wanted to be off the line of credit by December. I think our reliance on it significantly reduced about September. We implemented our expense reductions citywide, and the expense reductions are, most of it was in personnel cost. We did IT. We'll also talk about later that we did some small teams in water. We've actually found additional revenue there. We cut, we stopped operational cost. We cut travel training only to essential. We've not hired unless it's an essential position. These critical permanent expense reductions, I think, still need to be made. The city has no liquidity. It tightened back up in end of December as far as, we were choosing where we paid to do something. I think we've made great strides, but I don't think we're done. And I want to tell you a little bit.
I think, let me back up if you don't care. I think what she was saying when she talked about holding, the city has the legal obligation to pay its vendor within 30 days. So a lot of times, instead of us sending out the check the first week, we would wait to the third week. So we're trying to stagger these to keep us off the line of credit.
If I can
If that
ask
makes
you,
any sense.
and I asked you this before in open meeting, but I think it bears repeating. Had we not gone on line of credit, what would your financial obligation, what was your other avenue? What would have happened?
We would have laid off and we would have disrupted the city services that we provided. We would have started cutting them.
And those layoffs would have been citywide, right?
It would just citywide. And I want to stress that the positions, the 1.4 million that we cut out of payroll, and payroll is 32.5 million of the city budget. It's our most significant expense that we have is payroll and the benefits. We are a service industry. We provide service to our citizens and our utility customers. So most of our expense lies in payroll. When we did that, we cut three department head positions, and you all chose a city manager who we have not filled his role as chief financial officer. So we have a $245,000 savings that we're doing multiple jobs. And then we cut 3 department head positions that were enacted by, previous. How we kind of got there with payroll too is in the last 7 years, we added about 30 positions to the city's authorized position list.
In 3 years?
In 7.
7. 30
New
people.
position.
Yeah.
30 with an estimated cost of about 2.6 million.
So
Good grief.
that's like, some of the things how we got there. We bought a parking garage, and the operations of parking garage were like a $600,000 loss. The IT contract cost, when they come up here and they have real savings, we paid out 1.1 million just to VC3. That doesn't even include the phone savings that they took over and cut down to nothing.
And explain who is VC3?
VC3 was an outside IT person that we could call if we needed our password changed or need something updated. And in the 3 years that we had them, when I say they took us out of the dark ages to current technology. VC3 really, there was negligible improvement into our IT system.
Well, they weren't even here.
How many times?
They were just monitoring emails.
How many times did we have to pay an additional subcontractor for IT work to come in?
Oh, yeah, we
While
paid
having VC3.
constantly. constantly because they were not here. We hired a local IT person that used to work for us. We paid him significant money. And ironically, when VC3 hired him, they sent us the bill. So every time they hired him to do work, we paid the bill for him also. And we also had to pay another local company to upgrade our phone server.
I just want
And
to point out, this was against my will, or my better judgment, just.
yes, we had to pay
I
an
was
out
not for this.
because they could not fix our phones. So we had to hire another local person in addition to VC3, the outside IT person, to actually fix our phones and keep our phone software and stuff updated, which was probably, I did not get a chance to look at that cost, but it was probably $150,000 easily on top of what VC3 was. And now we have, you know, they've done an amazing job and they have spent so much time like fixing it, you know, and we hope once they get all the infrastructure in place, it'll make their lives easier and, you know, Mitch's easier.
I think it needs to be said that the two guys are extremely well-trained, too.
They are extremely well trained. They've, I think they've both with the FBI and the police training. We are very fortunate to have them.
Getting a lot better service.
Yes, and you know, they talked about the park guys. I think my favorite part of working here right now is the cohesive team. Parks, streets, different people, they work with other departments. We have the best of our best working together to achieve great results. So, and they're also the park guys, as you notice some of our city building improvements. They're in here after they do their shift, and they've changed out lights. The whole first floor is into LED lighting, so we no longer have to pay. It's cheaper on electricity, and it's going to be cheaper. We don't have to change light bulbs out. So
You mentioned the parking garage. Is the parking garage in any greater use now that the city owns it than it was when the bank owned it?
I think you can give did you give me a revenue number for a month?
over a year was $14.
We brought in $14.
Yeah, and I
Alright.
think the other year, sir, was like 400 and something.
Well, I appreciate whoever paid that $14. That was pretty big of them.
Well, they
Had they known, they probably wouldn't have done that.
$14.
How much did we budget, say, we anticipated revenue from the parking garage?
I would have to look, but we were conservative. I think we did like 10,000, but here's where
So we thought we was gonna get 10,000, we got 14.
yes.
Dollars.
Because we were supposed to implement a parking plan, which would have charged people to park there. And the previous parking plan was to charge $3 for every 2 hours downtown. While we're speaking of finances, this was also a number that Mr. Grubb and I didn't agree with. But for 3 different years, we never implemented the parking. We bought those $250,000 worth of machines. We never could make a decision what to go forward, yet we were budgeting $500,000 in the general fund every year, and we were collecting zero. And
Where'd you make that money up at? I mean,
that's part of your liquidity problem.
And by the way, the machines that we purchased could not have been installed with the existing downtown
No, sir.
electrical layout. Is that
The
correct?
lack of that.
Yeah.
Lack of, yeah.
No, sir, they could not have been installed. And we've actually tried to sell them, and nobody wants them.
Imagine that.
and that was verified through an electrical engineer, wasn't it, Barry?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, all right.
So,
Who is here?
so the parking, that's like $1.5 million that was taken out of fund balance because that kept getting budgeted every year. And Mr. Grubb and I were always like, you know, we have this budgeted, when are we going to implement? And it never got implemented.
I would ask the question, and maybe this isn't the appropriate time, so somebody tell me this, but, I mean, is there any way we can give the parking garage back? Is there a legal clause we can give it back?
Well,
That's a good question.
I don't think they would want it back. Maybe
I'd
they
have
would
to
pay
review the
us not to
contract.
take it back.
I mean,
I don't know that you could,
I mean, the bank gets the benefit of it, of the drive-through. We get the risk, we get the expense.
How much tax base was pulled off the tax rolls? when
That
you
was what I was,
Probably
No.
about 15 grand. It wasn't a whole lot. It was as far as like what they paid in the tax bill.
but we're not receiving that.
We're not receiving that, no.
Because we
Oh,
don't,
we got $14,
Yeah.
you know.
In addition.
Serious question, I mean, I don't.
Okay, we were in the later stages of the parking garage. It was like, basically, they already agreed to do it and had all the documents when we were sent it. Tony and I made a proposal, it'd be cheaper if we just purchased it and we actually had some rental income coming in. But there's no income coming in for 50 years. We're in charge of all the expenses and they get what they have for
we're
free.
responsible for the maintenance of the entire garage,
Mhm.
and we gave them a 50-year lease in their current use
Yes.
without cost.
Yes, sir.
And gave up the tax that we were being paid when it was on the tax.
Plus, we signed
All correct.
something with the IRS to give them a big tax deduction for their donation.
Let's move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we all want to discuss the visit Ashland, and I know we have it seems here to give us a
Before we get there,
presentation about
just let
that.
me make a comment.
What's that?
That goes back to what I was talking about early, some kind of stabilization fund that we create. I would respectfully ask this commission to set up some kind of a stabilization fund where the city either puts in X amount of dollars quarterly, monthly, something to build up the reserves. It's restricted, meaning that it would take the board to move money out of it. And we are talking about cash, like real money in the account. And it would also take, if a board member would come up with an idea or whatever, the board votes on it, you'd also have to have a mechanism to put money back into it over X amount of time. I would.
Why don't you make that as
Yeah.
part of your budget proposal?
Yes,
Yep.
sir, thank you.
And Mr. Wheeler has drafted a draft ordinance for the count,
I
or
think
that's
that's
one of
an
the things
excellent idea. I mean,
where you all can vote on it too.
I mean, this is nothing more than a rainy day fund, an old term, a rainy day fund. We could look at it in terms of the amount, how you want to do it. You could do 25% of the prior year budgeted expenditures, or we could come up and set up with a dollar amount. But
Can we do
Give
that
me
and
s-
still be on the line of credit?
that's going to be tough, sir. I mean,
I had one more,
go ahead.
I have one more proposal and something that I think is very important for our future financial health. As I said, the 32.5 million is in our city budget of personnel cost. We have currently about 15 vacant positions that Mr. Grubb has intentionally not filled. We would like to move forward to come up with a plan where we cut the city's workforce, put people in other jobs or cut our current authorized positions where we can save additional money, where we'll never be on the line of credit again. We can save that money that we have to build up our fund balance and our liquidity.
Well, you know my position on this.
I know.
As long as not one person loses their job.
That's why he's
One.
kept 15 positions open. He's intentionally not filled them, where we can take the city where it needs to be financially.
You know, I think we
We're
need
good
to,
without them now.
well, I think we need to look at that, but also I think we need to be cognizant of the impact to city services.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And departmental services. I know there's some departments that are short now, you know, that are running tight.
But there's also some places that I believe, or we believe, that somebody may not have a full-time role, that some of this can be combined into them doing more and us reducing the payroll expense.
And I think I brought it up to you, maybe Mr. Grubb. You know, some positions we may have vacant that are full-time. You know, they consist of your salary and then your benefits. Are there some avenues where we may be able to shift those in the budget to part-time, regular positions?
There is, of course, and something that we do in finance and we've done, and I think Public Works does also, is we hire seasonal positions or people that are not full-time. And it kind of works out well because you don't have to pay the benefits to start with. And these people eventually have taken full-time city jobs, but it is on the job. They're kind of like got an on-the-job interview. You kind of weed out people that are excellent, that are not so good, and you keep a lot of excellent staff when you have a full-time position open that you're going to fill, but you save money in the long run.
And something else that I've thought about and I've voiced my concern on is, I think that, I think it's good for us to look at potential employee, cost of living adjustments and CPI.
Yes.
But I want to know, when we do that, why does the entire scale for an employee salary have to move?
Only time that the reason that we move those is inflation. We keep the persons, they're not really getting a pay raise. Their buying power is just moving with the rate of inflation. They're not getting a pay raise. Their buying power, their salaries, no matter what level it is moving up with inflation. So if you look at the market basket of goods that the employee's buying, be housing, milk, electricity, the amount that is going up by inflation, it keeps the employee at the same rate. Also, our personnel policy says that we have to do that every certain years, and it keeps our compensation study relevant, because like if outside market employees, it goes up, it kind of keeps ours for the same jobs going up.
I hope the next time we do a study, we limit it to cities of the same size and economic condition as Ashland, as opposed to the general job market. I think we sometimes get things a little skewed in terms of governmental jobs versus the market as a whole. Don't want to adversely affect our employees, but I want them to be in line with what other cities are paying their employees around the state.
And I also think we need to look at, new positions coming in, not so much creating new positions, but new employees to new jobs. We've got folks here making a significant amount of money. And I'm not talking about directly impacting the folks that we have here now. I mean, we've got a great workforce. But you bring somebody in off the street for a job such as even a secretarial job making $25, $28 an hour. I mean, that's private sector job rates, and we're running off taxpayer
I
dollars.
would submit to you.
That's above
with
private
the data
sector.
that I have, that it's above.
And the comp study was not all went on the recommendations of the people. It was, I think it was changed a lot by the person in the
It
job.
was massaged some.
Yes.
These are legacy costs. When you create
Yes.
these jobs, you have these legacy costs until you take those jobs out of the budget. So, that's something that we need to look at maybe through attrition and different avenues. But I think some of our pay scale needs to be adjusted for new hires coming in.
I'll make a note of that, sir.
When we did something else we did with the compensation study, I think the reason a lot of these that, and Tony mentioned that they're outside the scale for, even public and private industry, is it got compressed so much. You literally have supervisors and employees in the same grading scale. But they wanted to compress it into like 18 different little scales. So it gave people, I think, higher pays than it should have because of the compression of the scales.
But I also think too, if you've got an employee that's been in a position that's a labor position for 30 years, and their supervisor walks off the street, I don't see why a supervisor would be making 15 to 20% more than that person that's, put in their blood, sweat, and tears for 30 years or so. But I understand that there should be a difference between supervisor and employee, but I don't think there should be a significant difference. And I think that we have a lot of supervision here. And moving forward, we need to look at potentially scaling some of that back and actually have more folks on the ground doing the daily tasks, the daily duties to serve the city.
We,
Some of our initial cuts was in
Yeah.
arena.
And that was great.
because we've not filled 4 department head positions. Mr. Murray took on 2 roles, Tony has took on 2 roles. I mean, and then we just eliminated some and, people took pieces and parts of it. But they created so many department heads. I mean, used to make, back here there wasn't a place to sit. We've right-sized that. I mean, when we made the recommendations to you all, when we changed them, that was right-sized them. And we also, when we made the changes too, we looked at long-term, especially in the Department of Public Services. We took some employees, we did not create a position, but we did like a 5% increase to make them an entry frontline supervisor. So when we lose people to retirement or somewhere else, we have someone trained to supervise. Or if the superintendent is gone, we have someone that can step up to that position. So we also looked at the changes for long-term, not to leave the city in a void for someone that does not know how to run the department of the division.
Well, as you mentioned, I think we continue to consolidate as much as we can.
Yes.
You know, if we can save in positions, that's where we need to do it.
So we will move forward with that. So when we go into the 2027 budget, the 2027 budget will be with less personnel cost, which gives us more money to fix our liquidity. It keeps us off the line of credit, and it actually allows you all to put money on the street to do things for the citizens, be it paving, sidewalks, or different work.
Okay, very good. Let's move on this to the visit AKY. I think you have some material there.
Yes.
I was not expecting to come today. I thought it was next Thursday, and then I was like, I'm coming. Here I come. So here I am, guys. Which way is the easiest? This way?
Where are we going to stand?
That's fine.
You're good.
That's fine.
We give Amy 35 currently, so there is. I can memorize this.
Okay.
We'll take a break.
No, I need a donut. I'm ready to faint.
Okay. All right, Ms. Coons,
All right, well.
what are we looking at here?
So what you're looking at here is an event budget breakdown between last year and then the cost of the event this year. I don't know if you guys know, but of course the Tourism Commission is over touristic events, but they've also been overseeing community events for the last few years with the help of Ashland in Motion, which is a separate nonprofit. We've had a loss of $150,000 in ARPA funding. That grant had come right after COVID, so we're working on an increased deficit as well as decreased sponsorships, the economic climate, the fact that people aren't given as much as they had been. But looking at it from the perspective of how much it cost last year versus how much it's going to cost us this year to be able to do the same things and add a few things. I mean, there's a few things that are in here that are a great hope for me. Like the Infinity Con. But part of the increase is on stuff that you guys are used to having, like our First Fridays. Our First Fridays increased from the $18,000 that it had been, what it usually costs to be able to do the entertainment, the inflatables, the cost of insurance, things like that. It's going to cost us a little bit more now with the presence of police officers and making sure it's safe and making sure everything is where it needs to be. So it's going to take it from being $3,000 each time to $5,000. So, and with inflation, just like anything else, sometimes the cost of entertainment, the cost of inflatables, the cost of insurance, those kinds of things increase as we go. The Ashland in Motion events are the first Fridays, Firkin Fest and Gravy Bowl. Those are they're Ashland in Motion who subcontract Visit Ashland. The others are Visit Ashland events that we would like to do that will bring in also community and tourism, like having the sunset scenes where we have the movies down on the riverfront. But we do need help. With that loss of funding and the loss of the ARPA funding, I run at $150,000 less than Brandy did before. And that's just because of having the money after COVID. So what this is, it's showing you a breakdown of all the events that we are planning to have. And there's some that pop in on us too. In this year, the 2026 into the first of 2027, and how much it costs. I broke it down into how much it costs from like a perspective of materials, marketing, and I also added a payroll implement on that. But that I separated in the very end, so you can see the difference between what it costs to just have the event from like, so if we just did a basis of events, it would cost us $143,170. And with payroll, the amount of time that we spend on it formulating is about $207,000. Our budget at Visit AKY is $220,000. So with $220,000 come from transient tax, which is tax from the hotel. For the people who don't know that that's how we get our funding. We are supposed to do all of our brochures, sell the city at trade shows, go to busing conventions, try to come up with tour bus things for the area to get kids involved or get, elderly involved to do their tour bus stops here. And that doesn't leave much money left. So the hope is that I'm going to do a PowerPoint presentation for you guys too. That's the whole reason I thought it was next Thursday. So that you could see the breakdown of what it is that we are doing and how we've been doing it, and what KTIA, which is the Kentucky Travel Industry Association, what they want me to do from my position and from what a community standpoint, so we don't drop anything. We want to make sure that everything stays elevated and it stays moving forward. Yep, that's pretty much what
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah.
Like on First Fridays here.
Yes.
Are you requesting 2 police officers, or are you told you need 2 police officers?
It's just
What's
in the
going
form.
on here?
It's in the form that I fill out. So that's how I help me equate that. So when I send in my form to do events, we have to send in a form, and they're approved or denied, and then they send it back. It just shows me what the estimation is for what I'm needing. So like if First Friday, to keep it safe, we probably do need 2 police officers per hour and 4 monitors if the EDC is activated.
Who pays those police officers?
That's going to be us.
Do you pay them individually, or do you pay the city?
So this is the first time that I've ever had this.
You want to chime in, Chief?
We schedule it, and the original plan was for it to be reimbursed from the organization. And in the past, that was basically bypassed. And now that reevaluating and everything, we charge per officer at that time, and we get reimbursed. The cost you see there is what it is just the actual employee cost. Doesn't cost for the cruiser, doesn't cost for backfill of any overtime or anything like that. That's what it costs the city to do somebody out there.
Chief, I think the question is, the city been bearing the cost?
Yes.
Okay, that was the question.
I couldn't really hear the whole.
So the city's been bearing the cost out of your budget, there've been no reimbursement?
Yeah.
Is this considered a city-sponsored event?
First Friday. It has the last, the years.
I would think if it was a city-sponsored event, we shouldn't charge.
Or you could actually do an in-kind contribution.
Police.
The police to be there, for the
Yeah.
streets to be there, or? There's one here that says $10,000.
Now that is actually
Garbage,
for.
police, and the barricade?
Yeah, that's for Infinity Con. Like, would be a touristic event. That's the video game conference. That would be different. And we would want.
Question is, are we paying or are we just absorbing? We've been absorbing.
You've been,
Yeah.
But
yes.
now
You've been
we're gonna
absorbing
pay.
costs.
Yeah, it just hasn't came from Visit AKY. That's pretty much the difference. And now that, looking at it from a sales perspective, and my background is regional sales, and looking at it, return on investment, how much money we have versus how much money we can spend, and I'm like, oh, well, that puts us in negative. So we don't want to do that. We want to continue to move forward, or look at it from a budget perspective, so that whenever I sit down and come up with what we can do, I'm able to do it from a realistic perspective.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, if we're
I
gonna pay
think
it
my
either way.
recommendation would be we do it in kind.
In kind.
It's
yeah.
about
I
$35,000 for
agree.
these events.
I mean, I know I don't get the vote, that's just my opinion.
Well, I mean, that's what I was gonna suggest. That's why I brought this up, and I'm sure Commissioner Renfro as well.
So with these votes, it's, with her estimates, it's 34,860, I think. I was quick on my phone, of in-kind contributions. And you all are also doing in-kind contributions. We do let them use the Ashland train station without charging.
Do we maintain any record of what we're spending in kind on these events?
We do, not with her, because we've never really tracked it. The chief may have tracked it, but on the financials, I think we have for like Summer in Motion and Poke Landing, but we have never for these
The
smaller
major
events.
events.
Yes.
But I can, of course, keep track of that, because each month that I have events, I have to do a breakdown of what we have. I have to know what our budget is. I have to know how much money we have in the bank, how much has been spent on what. So I can always put that as a thing. If you guys are so kind to do that,
Yeah, please.
then I'll make sure that it's a piece in there that you see that it come back in kind. That way, at the end of the year, when you do finances, you're able to say, okay, well, we gave back this much in an in-kind. And that helps tremendously. I mean, honestly, at this point, every little bit is a big bit, you know, in the world we live in. And being in that kind of a deficit and being new in the office, you just kind of go, uh-oh, what do we do here? And I'm very grateful that you guys are taking the time out of your day to listen.
Okay, your relationship with Ashland Emotion, you said you subcontract.
They subcontract us. Those events belong to them. I guess they're who started them. So Ashland in Motion is a nonprofit that's separate than Visit AKY. And they began, I guess they started out as Main Street years ago.
Right.
And then evolved into Ashland in Motion. And they have subcontracted Visit Ashland to help them put these on. So basically, the money that had been coming in from the city was to pay an employee to be able to do them. Because it does take a lot of time. When you break it down on how long it takes to do that, it does take some time.
What other funding sources does Ashland Emotion have?
I think it's just
It's it.
because
I
they.
think there used to be other sources, I don't think there are anymore.
They don't. I mean, I've asked for sponsorships this year as a partnership thing for us to have, to add Ashland in Motion and Visit Ashland together to help that. But I mean, that's the only thing. Like last year, Bergenfest made $87 as its, as a fundraiser. And, hey, it was
They made
over.
more than us.
You may have to
It was
relocate
over.
the Perkins in the parking garage.
So, you know, looking at it from that perspective and what it is that we have, I just want to make sure that the partnership continues and that the community events stay going the same way that they have been. And no one knows anything but the wiser, that everything's just moving the way it always has been. It's just hard to do when you're looking at numbers and you're like, eventually, then we're not going to exist if we keep spending more money than we bring in.
It seems to me there ought to be an annual review of the event in terms of whether to continue with the event or to say, you know, this was a good and lively event at one point, it's not anymore.
Oh, you're 100%.
Maybe we need to move on to something else or apply, you know, the money that's being spent on that event to the other events.
True.
I mean, just because we've done it in the past doesn't mean we need to continue. if, for instance, it ends up with an $87 deal,
Right.
and that doesn't make a lot of sense.
Well, go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Ashland in Motion, I asked them to send us, they've requested 70,000 this year, not 35. We've been funding them at 35. There were some years they didn't
Been
request it.
35 for 25
Yeah.
years or longer.
They're wanting the 35 back, I guess, where they didn't request it in a year, so they've put on their request that there only will be 2 First Fridays if we don't, I guess, fund the 70, or depending on what you all fund. So AIM's income is $2,000 they have from fundraising and $35,000 from the city of Ashland.
You know, I think going forward, organizations that, seek donations from the city, I think it would be very advantageous for this board and the community to have a representative from them come and speak, like you're doing now, like Mike does,
We
once a
did
month.
that on an annual basis.
Yeah.
I don't know what this is.
And
We did.
I think that.
That ought to be the requirement. I mean,
And then they
if
provide,
don't do it, they don't get money.
and then they provide a summary of how the monies were spent.
I mean, I don't understand, and maybe I should, excuse me. I mean, why do we fund AIM? Why would we not just?
Well,
fund-
that's what I was getting at, where she said they're subcontractors, so we're giving money to AIM, so they can turn around and give money to Visit Ashland,
I mean,
right?
that-
Yes.
That don't seem,
And we're paying for AIM to have an accountant at $1,200. We're paying for them to have insurance at $1,000, and all they do is give money to her.
Can we just give the money directly to Visit Ashland?
Well, there used to be, an executive director that was kind of the downtown guy. I mean, it was
But it's not.
Originally, Main Street was to promote downtown.
Yes.
Dan Craig.
And, they didn't want to continue it because there were requirements, for the membership, a lot of things that had to be done to be a Main Street representative community. So they dropped out of Main Street. But I think even when the last person I remember being in Main Street and then in AIM was Danny Craig.
Danny Craig.
And I can't tell you after that where the thing has gone. But $35,000 a year was what we were routinely budgeting that
Yes.
organization.
I mean, I've been just trying to wrap my head around why we would.
It was a
Send the money to
downtown
AIM and
promotion
then AIM-
at that time.
And she can't move forward until she knows if AIM's gonna give her money.
To create a budget.
It's something we need to resolve.
And I think that what AIM has expressed to me is that the reason that they still exist is just in case something were to happen with Visit Ashland, or, something were to happen that Boyd and Ashland would become again and nothing would happen on Main Street. And those community events would somehow dissolve.
Well, if we give money to Visit Ashland and it's a sanctioned Ashland event, wouldn't it be covered under our insurance?
No, I don't.
No?
I usually have to keep event insurance on every.
I think you have to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's under the special event.
I mean,
yeah.
it's not a routine city function.
Yeah.
Because
Each one.
if they did something, outlandish, it would be under their insurance and not ours.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And when we have event season, our event insurance goes up, just because we have to make sure that whatever it is, we're covered under. And that the city also knows, so I send Amber a list of like every event that we have, and then that is covered on our insurance, so that it's shown that it's covered on our insurance in the event something were to happen.
I do want you to come back with your presentation.
Yes,
At one of the.
100%.
at Next board meeting or the board meeting after that.
I planned on
Show
coming
your
on the 12th for
PowerPoint.
sure.
I do want to see that.
Celeste, do you know, not to cut you off, I'm sorry, do you know if in the past, this Board of Commission, or the Board of Commission, may have had a representative on your board, on the board of Visit AKY?
I'm pretty sure, yes, Amanda Clark that's on the board, so she was a commissioner at the time.
Was it?
Commissioner Reimer, it's a statutory board, so the mayor appoints all the members to her Visit Ashland.
That's the tourism commission.
Yep,
Correct.
yep. He is 100% on that.
I got the statute.
And also too, guys, like if I'm open book, I will be completely transparent. I mean, I will send
Sonny
funding to
doesn't
you
like
all
that
the
word.
time. You can come in. You don't like the word transparent?
Just means
I'll find another word, I just don't know what it is.
We had her do the budget breakdown because I told her that you all made decisions based on data and that if you all were going to fund something, you all want to know where the money went. So that's why she did the budget breakdown for you guys. Because you all just do not give blank checks. You all even ask of us lots of questions before we spend city money.
Well, I
So-
think, you know, this commission, I mean, obviously, we want to support, you know, we want to
Absolutely.
make sure that happens. And I'm sure this board will do that. We're just trying to figure out how do we do it, you know?
Me too.
Well,
And-
Well, I mean, I'm, you know, what I was getting at earlier with the AIM, you know, is that just the middleman, you know, why we have that?
Well, let me ask you this. So
Sure.
your event budget breakdown, does that include what you would need to run all the events as you already do, but
With or
basically
without Ames
with
money?
or without Ames money?
Yes.
Okay.
So we broke it down that way to make sure that everything continued. Even my board, Ames board, knows that I've submitted budget, just so that we continue to move everything
Have
forward.
you shared this with them? They're aware of what your budget is?
Yeah, yeah. I'm trying to be the best community partner
I got you.
that I possibly can be.
Sure.
And make sure that everybody who's worked really hard to create what they've created stays involved and elevated too. But I have to be able to make a budget for the year and know what to tell everybody that's going on, and being able to look at it from, okay, well, here's the events, but now I have to look at tourism. Let's go at, where am I gonna go to get the trade shows and to sell Ashland, and when's that gonna happen? So that helps me build out the entirety of the year and know what buckets of money go to what. And I have to say, and that's broken down every single month in the way that I do finances. I run reports, I look at reports, I look at how much we've spent versus this time last year, and I looked at the inflation and the different things that's going on in the world, and of course, making sure that everything's safe. Like, having the police presence is important. These people have to be safe coming to anything that Visit Ashland has. So like, that's imperative. That's a no-brainer to me. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys.
Can you take just a couple of minutes? I'll let you go.
Yeah.
Infinity Con's got a $75,000.
It does. It's
Would you
big.
like to tell us a little bit about that? Because it seems like to me that's a pretty big deal here.
I moved it to the end of the year into October, hopefully. Infinity Con is a video game conference that would happen on Winchester, and it would turn the streets of Ashland into Fallout the video game. And there would be, it's kind of like a Comic-Con, but only for video games. So you'd have different vendors and different things for video games, video game competitions. And to elevate it, we talked to the people who create it, and which is their actual hub is in Gainesville, Florida. They would create it to make sure that, say that you're playing the game on your phone and you're playing along and you start to lose power, well, you can go into Kale's and have a burger and you power up. So it's being able to take the businesses and make it an immersive event for them to be there. It costs $45,000 for the intellectual property, which is them to create the game, all of that, and the layout, design, and everything, and give us marketing, and also someone to help us with budgeting and making sure everything is done. But then I also have to pay for special effects, because if we do it, we need to make sure people want to be there. But we can recoup that back, because that's the only cost there is, and we're allowed to sell tickets at it. So it can become a fundraiser. It can become one that at least recoups the funds and breaks even and becomes a true touristic event. Because when you're looking at something like Infinity Con, you have people who fly from all over the place to play video games or to be in an immersive situation. So it becomes less, not exclusively to community, now it becomes something that people from 3 hours away will come in for.
How many other cities have it?
We're the only one that they're asking to do the breakout. I am gracious that I knew the guy who is over their marketing department, and they had been talking about doing a world, because the one they have in Gainesville and Tallahassee has 7 worlds. But this would be able to take one of their worlds and put it into Ashland. And they were talking about the convention center and how it can like eventually move its way into that. We could have the city and move it into the convention as well. And they were like, well, you know, I don't want to lose it. I don't want them to go on to any other city. So I'm keeping them, but I have to know if I can afford them. That's the biggest thing. And that's a big risk. And being here talking to you guys about money and then being like, hey, I want to spend $75,000 on video game people. But I really truly feel in my heart that there is a niche of people that will follow that, and it'll be very impactful secondarily to the economy here. We'll have people spending the nights. We'll have people coming in from Florida, designing things, special effects, and hopefully, you know.
Have you got much preliminary feedback on this?
So my board is totally on board with it. We just want to make sure that financially we know what the year's going to look like event cost wise and what we have coming in so that I can say, okay, we know we have it. Let's go try it. Because it's a big try. It's a big
I mean, have you got people from outside Ashland saying,
Yes.
hey, when is this and
Yes.
how? Okay.
Yeah. Well, most of the people that I've told about, they get really excited about it. And especially if that's their thing. So, you know, and talking at it from a mother's perspective, I have 3 boys that are really counting down days to that their friends can go play on the street, and they're bringing their video games and their real life in together. So it gets them out of the house, but it also gets them.
Sounds like an updated Pokemon.
A little bit, it is, other than, you know, it's just gonna write Ashland into it, and Fallout the video game is, Fallout the video game has like a
Celeste, what
thing.
is your funding from your tax? How much money are you getting?
So we average about $12,000 a month from,
$12,000 a month?
yeah, from transient tax. So that's what we get. I mean, there's some that are great. There's some months that we have Rock the Countries and those kinds of things that are coming in. And we have an $18,000 month, and then we have the next month we might have a 12. So it might be somewhere near 14.
It depends
would you
on
say?
occupancy in the
That a little bit
hotel. and
closer?
motel.
Off the top of my head, I was thinking 14 to 15.
14, yeah. Because not having my numbers in front of me, but just thinking about it from a financial perspective, probably closer to 14 is the average.
Other than us, is that your only source of funding,
And sponsorship.
sponsorship?
Yeah. And we were really down in sponsorship last year, but I'm new, so it's a learning curve and being able to get in front of who I need to get in front of, and you know, we've been talking about different facets and avenues and ways to bring income in. InfinityCon we can sell tickets to, so if we sold tickets to it, we can recoup the funds and maybe even more than, which is the great hope, but at least making back what we spent in when it comes to that, because the secondary economic impact on that is really the goal for it. Like, what do we have coming in from outside? So that's pretty much InfinityCon. I'm really excited about it, and I don't know if you can tell that, but just a little bit.
Celeste, thanks for your presentation.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
100%. Thank you guys for listening, and thanks for letting me run
Guys,
in.
would you like to take a 10-minute break?
Sure.
All right. 10 minutes, we'll get right back at it.
Who's the best
Tim's back.
basketball
We can
team?
get started. All right, let's move into
I'm just
our
watching Hager.
public works building.
Chill on down.
Mr. City Manager, you want to update us on that? Ms. Beach?
I'm sorry.
Public Works.
Public Works building.
Yeah, on the Public Works building, we created another small team to discuss the completion of the new Public Works building to replace the current dilapidated central garage building. I think we talked about this earlier at some point in time about it. I mean, it floods, when it rains, these guys are working in flooded floors, and electrical cords,
Well, I
stretched
think,
out
you know,
all over
we
the
have all
place.
talked about, this is their number one priority to keep, our employees safe and give them a safe work environment.
Yes,
You know.
and so we're also looking, and this is tentative, I don't know if we can do it, but the reason I'm not calling it a central garage, is calling it a public works. It would consist of streets, central garage, sanitation. This is a long overdue replacement. The project will be funded with the bond issue and reduction in the other budgeted operational expenses. Just 1 second. Yes, that's about all I have on it.
Yeah, putting them together, they would probably be able to work more cohesively together. I mean, I would think, having them all right there.
Yes, would you want to talk about Mr. Corbett or Barry? I think both of these guys are, have
Leading our
taken the
team.
lead.
I'll be glad to.
I would not disclose where we're talking about or the location.
Yeah, I wrote up a summary, because engineering is ready to go. We've looked at 4 different properties, including existing property, made the layout designs, and combined both the streets and central garage in the same spot. Some of the properties are already eliminated as, the original property we eliminated really because it floods every time it rains. The buildings, you can't get a fire truck in there and open good.
Why would you build on something that's not working now, so?
So anyway, we're ready to proceed once the commission gives us authority. We have not looked at the probability of selling the abandoned properties, once we build. So that's
Yeah.
potential. And we made some estimates that we haven't included the cost of demolition. But anyway, bottom line is engineering is ready to go, central garage, need is really bad. And we toured the properties and streets, we met with the streets department, we met with garage people, we even interviewed Jim Wheeler, the previous superintendent up there. So we got lots of facts and drawings, and we're ready to go when you're on.
Well, let's go to Ms. Beach. How we pay for this?
We would have,
As I said earlier, we're looking at a bond issue.
it's 65,000 approximately per 1 million of debt service. So he's estimated around, what, 5 to 7?
In that range. but
Yes.
And it's probably,
Do we
I
have?
use a really high figure for building costs.
Well, you're saying 5 to 7, 500 to 700,000?
5 to 7 million.
In terms of building the.
Yes, yes.
I thought about property access or property acquisition.
Well, hopefully
Much cheaper.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
One of the locations that they've identified as being very viable is currently under appraisal, and hopefully we'll have that to share with you all in an executive session in an upcoming meeting. And just for public disclosure, that's the typical way that we do that, is when there's a property that's been identified as a appropriate use, it's appraised, we then bring it to the commission in an executive session to discuss, because you don't want to reveal the price, obviously, because that could impact significantly the cost. So
What's the age of the current facility there? I know it's, you know, it's a hodgepodge. There's a new building on one side.
Noah's Ark out there.
Yeah, I mean, it was,
It's over 100 years old.
it was Ashland Vocational School at one point.
I never knew that.
Below the street level. 3 feet below the street level.
In your 5 to 7 million, does that include any new equipment? I mean, we're not gonna drag all the old equipment, and put it in a new building, are we?
What,
We're gonna try to get some new stuff?
we have an advantage there. I think that some of the stuff, when it's used for the Ashland bus system, I will be able to maybe utilize our FTA funds for some of it.
We would transfer the lifts and stuff that is new and used. But that cost did not include any major.
I would hate to drag all the old cruddy stuff down and put it in a new building.
No, I don't anticipate doing that. That would not be my plan.
If you recall, Mr. Grubb, what was the cost of the water distribution and sewer collection building up?
No, it was, I was thinking 3 to 4.
I thought it was 1.7.
Michelle's memory is better than mine at this
I think
point.
it's well below the.
Yeah.
She was saying 3 to 4.
It's a nice building.
It is, yes, absolutely.
Okay, so we'll look forward to hearing from the,
And in addition, at the same time, we do have certain other
Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Barry.
infrastructure in the city that needs addressed, one of them being this building. We thought about tackling the heating and air in this building, because we have mold. It's need replaced for years. When we go out and do the bond issue, we intend on looking at the assets citywide to see what else needs fixed. We're not gonna go into this and like do this and borrow money, and then something needs fixed later. We're evaluating all city assets.
I think it's a good idea. I mean, I know these windows, there's a window back there that's cracked, or it was cracked. Windows out in the
All these
hallway that are
windows
cracked
allow
there.
in, I don't know what you want to call it, road dust, used to be coal dust coming in and stuff. And particularly on the first floor, the HVAC system, we had a professional company come in, some guys with PhDs, and I think there was some mold identified, is that correct?
Yes, but between the windows and the heating and air, I think our health insurance costs would reduce some.
Want to jump into that right there, man? Go straight to the health insurance?
Yeah.
all right, let's, what about water line, replacement?
Davey Chappelle actually made us a list of the priorities.
I have.
Yeah, you get it.
Oh, yeah.
Where's this point at?
You got another one of those?
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Thank you.
Oh, time, okay, I got you. It's at the front.
Okay.
We have the Blue Water report that was done back in 2018.
17 or 18.
Well, it was published December of 2018.
I think what we've looked at, and perhaps Mark can correct me if I'm wrong, but some of that is still dated right now. Some of the recommendations was put into place. We're currently funding utility line replacement at $1 million per year.
We are?
We
That was
are,
one
yeah.
of the questions
We
I
have
had.
dedicated every single year since then, $1 million.
More, maybe.
We can certainly use more.
Are we still averaging 240 breaks?
Even more, I just calculated that we were about, well, I did brakes for 100 miles, the top, which is one of the standards, and then
there
Right,
that they use.
right.
We were at 85 brakes per 100 miles of pipe.
What were the number of breaks we had last year? You know?
Well, can we do this? It's about 260, somewhere in there.
Well, you would think if we're spending $1 million a year, that we ought to be starting to make some kind of impact on,
I would,
you know, over 5 years at least of $1 million.
so the original report there talks about at the time, they proposed 20 years
Yeah.
to be able to bend the curve, to move
Right,
it below.
right.
I think it's 30
yeah.
brakes per
30 breaks is what they thought we needed to
100,
get to.
per 100 miles of pipe.
Yeah.
And we're at 85. And at the time, that cost, it was a significant cost. We understand that, how much it was.
Yeah, it was significantly more than $1 million a year.
$3.2 million in 2022 to replace 6 miles of pipe, which it would require that for 20 years. And then just to put that in terms of, in the document that you have there, Commissioner Martin, I think it's on page 36 that you have the document there.
I do.
It has some cost estimates there.
Right.
And just for comparison, just for this one project, the second project from the bottom there, it says Unruh Street. The estimated cost at this time, when this was developed, in that document says $75,735 for us to do that project.
Right.
We just completed that last year. We just completed that project. And our cost with our people, what it cost us for us to do with our people, including the patch, was about $235,000. So that gives you an idea of the cost, how some of these projects, especially if we have to use a contractor, which that wasn't a contractor project, but like the Oakview Road project, in here is around $800,000 is what they proposed it would cost at this time when this document was made. Now we're talking $5 million.
Yeah.
So it's just we're still getting a significant bang for our buck when we do these projects with our crews.
We
still
do.
get a lot of stuff done, but the money is it's just gone crazy with inflation, with the cost of the materials.
Well, another thing that was suggested was that we do a surcharge similar to what we've done in wastewater treatment.
Let me throw this out.
As a means of payment over a 20-year period.
Let me throw this out at you. If the board would be okay, if you all, and I think we, myself, Mark, if we want to accelerate this and invest more money, I think some options would be from the savings of the water loss team that we created, we could bond X amount of dollars and the debt service would come from that savings.
I think that's an excellent idea.
If I be so bold, if you all could skip over to, Michelle, do they have a copy of what I have?
Your notes, no, sir.
Well, not my notes, but item S.
Water loss?
No.
Yeah, water loss team accomplishments. If you all don't, Michelle's gonna speak on it just a little bit. Where we've looked at these, water loss and changed out meters, we are realizing quite large savings. My notes here is 500 to 600,000. That's a very conservative number. I think it's more in the neighborhood of 750 to 800,000. So my proposal would be whatever, I don't know what the bond rate is right now off the top of my head.
4%.
4%. So whatever that, we'll say the low end, 600,000 with support and debt service is what we would bond to accelerate
That would be 10 million.
Yeah, us putting that level of pipe in the ground faster
I think it's
to
gonna pay
recoup.
for itself. I mean,
It does, you know, and Mark's team has done an excellent job with the water loss. We've, the meters, they've done 13 out of 20, and they haven't even got Canonsburg yet, because they're waiting on Canonsburg to fix something. And his staff is already starting residential. It's been, 15 years since we've done the residential, and we've changed them out, so we're even starting, getting the residential meters changed out.
Well, the meters were a significant part of the water loss that we believe we were experiencing.
Yes.
Like
That is correct.
15% or more.
Yeah.
That is correct, and I still think there's more to be gained.
Right. But we are, even with the leaks, we are losing a lot of water just in the repair of these
Yes.
leaks, 240, 260 a year.
It's something that we started out with the millions that we did, may not help us the breaks per mile, but it helped us with redundancy. And we started the big lines. We did the big lines first. So when we had the DeBoard Hill tank repair, you know how we didn't lose water? And it happens to be because we replaced the lines and it made our system more redundant.
The majority of our leaks are occurring in 2 to 6 inch lines.
Yes.
Is that
Yeah.
not right?
Yeah.
I mean, it isn't in the big lines that we're really losing or experiencing
No.
the leak.
We have a handful of the larger lines.
Well,
that
like the
are
one
problematic.
up
That
at
we-
Marathon. or
Well,
whatever.
I mean, Oakview Road's an issue,
Yeah.
29th Street, we have some other larger lines that we wanna do, but also to touch on what Michelle said, that's part of the bigger idea of redundancy. What she's talking about, if you remember, we did a line up Simpson Road up to the DeWard Hill tank, we did
And
one
it
up
ended up being a
Belmont,
loop.
we did a portion up 29th Street, and just think in terms of the main thoroughfares, you could roughly think that there's main water lines running through there. So one of the other projects we want to do is Oakview Road. We did Dixon Street, which connects Pollard and Blackburn, and then finishing up the portion of 29th Street that we haven't done. So those are the ones that are supplying the redundancy. And like she said, we expected to have 10,000 people out of water when we turned that, when we went to make that repair. And we were definitely surprised, the Division of Water was surprised, anybody that was involved in this was surprised that we were able to maintain service throughout the system when we turned the board.
And Erica has also done a grant for a federal appropriation for Oakview and 29th Street. She's applied for, it's about $5 million to help do those lines with.
Right.
So we're not only, using our utility revenues, we're seeking grant money to do those.
In terms of the CSO that we have, or the surcharge that we have on the CSO on the sewer deal, now that we have bonded the resulting or the additional costs to do the wastewater treatment building, are we going to continue with the surcharge?
The surcharge will be in effect for another 20
So it
years
will be
until the debt
during
service paid
term
off.
of the bond issue?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
It's written, the ordinance is written, when the last debt service payment is paid off, that will be taken off.
Gotcha.
Can I comment on some more on the metering too? One of the things that we've done is we sat down with FIVCO and we created a project we're trying to get funding for water loss issues. I think I'd have to get the exact details and I can get it to you guys, but we were looking at doing about 3,000 residential meters. So think of, the big meters are obviously making a difference, but each one of those individual meters that we're reading, if they're off a few percent, even just a few percent, you get a stacking of those meters together and you start having, they start making up
significant.
significant loss.
And we noticed we had an administrative error. The numbers
Yeah.
that utilities were using and the numbers that billing staff were using had different dates. So when we aligned those dates together, it took, what, 4%?
For water loss
40, yeah,
calculations.
it went down 4% just with that.
So what they would call a billing date, it was a slightly different date for the consumption date that we were using. So when we matched them back up, we got a little bit better figures than what we had before.
In terms of the charges that we have on our water service, we used to have an annual CPI or whatever adjustment.
You
for
do.
water and sewer.
You do.
We took that off.
Yeah, but we put it back on.
Yeah.
It is back on?
Yes, sir.
Mark, on those meters, when the meter goes bad, let's say, who's the victim? I mean,
Usually we are,
okay,
Yeah.
almost always.
okay.
And he's not only, he's replaced ultrasonic meters with compound meters. The compound meter only, like, some of those only measured when 400 gallons went through a minute.
Yeah.
An ultrasonic meter measures it all.
And keep in mind, when we put those in, they were the technology that we needed at the time.
Mhm.
You know, so now that we're installing this, you know, you're picking up, it's almost like the water could be turned on at a certain level and it's not being metered. The meter's so large, there has to be so much water to move through it. And I'm not a water meter expert, but from what the guys tell me, the ultrasonic, I do have a background from when I was at the wastewater plant, different types of meters, but still, ultrasonics in that environment are definitely desired too. But the ultrasonic is more sensitive to be able to pick up those low flows and more accurate and precise overall.
And the water loss team chose Catlettsburg in the industrial park areas because we can actually look at how much is produced in those areas. And through in-house engineering, because we previously were actually engineering outside. Barry and his team engineered the first Catlettsburg project, saved us $50,000 on engineering cost. So we did that in-house. And we're also fixing another problem. We, for years, have not been able to fix Catlettsburg's fire hydrants. Like somebody hit it with a car and it never was replaced. And so they were thinking they were down like 10. So in this one area, we're fixing 4 and adding 4.
The reason behind that is it's a division of water requires you to put actual hydrants on 6-inch lines, correct? Gee?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Most of
when
those
they have a
are
4-inch line up there
We
and
can't.
something happens to the hydrant, there's no way to go replace it legally and say, here's your fire hydrant.
Are we out from under the 2018 consent agreement that we had on the water?
The agreed order? Yes, yes, sir.
When did that end?
It's been a few years, I'd have to look at the details exactly, but yes, we were able to negotiate that completely.
When was our last rate study?
It went on for the last, we haven't done one in 2 years, 2.5 years, but the rate study went on for like 6 years. We could not get.
6 years?
Yes. We could not get the rates increased. It was a challenge, and we finally got them increased. We talked city management into doing a little bit at a time until the rate study was finished, but they were going to wait till it was finished. So we did a 10, 10, and 5, and they finished the rate study about 2.5 years ago.
I have a
Rates-
note in my budget preparation to calculate for, I think we were preparing for FY '28 for another rate study. I'd have to go back and look at the exact year, but we have it worked out based on the requirements for public service.
And that was part of the problem with the utility fund. We had the inflationary increases in pipe and paving and stuff, and we kept putting off, increasing the rates. But we should.
The
The rate
Blue Water
study-
study wanted a 20-year plan. We don't have a 20-year plan in place, obviously.
No, we do not.
And
But
and this is a very progressive step to take, depending on how quickly we perform these.
we could bond, and the water loss team could come together with a plan. It could be even, hiring more distribution crew and doing it ourselves cheaper. But getting these in place And from the outcomes of, I hope Erica's grant is appropriation, Mr. Rice, she applied for their money, that it's successful. And if it is, we could knock a lot of these off the list with the $10 million bond issue.
We do have that on the capital projects committee, the document that we work off of monthly. You can go back, normally we don't look at that every month, but the projects that we've completed, just by doing what our crews have been able to do over the years and a handful of projects that we've contracted out, the list is really starting to be pared down for the existing plans that we have. I mean, over 4 or 5 years, it doesn't seem like you're doing a whole lot. So when you do 3 or 4 projects, 5 projects possibly during the year, you gradually start chipping away at this list. So we have done that. Obviously, we would love to have been able to do more, but we have, we've made a difference. Maybe it's not a measurable difference, but with terms of number of leaks, but I do believe it's for certain we made a difference with resiliency.
So what would we use the bond for? If our crews are gonna do as much of the work as possible, we would just use the bond for
Buying pipe.
material, piping.
The
fittings.
paving, and there is some where our crews couldn't do, so we obviously would hire contractors for those. The big ones, I would continue to pursue grant funding for, but I think we could actually knock a lot off the list. And we could possibly, Mark and Davey be an eternal thing with them, but possibly we could hire a crew
That's my question, are we staffed to do this?
yeah.
Well, many years ago, they hired a
Well,
fifth
we created
crew.
a team, we created a 5th crew, but hiring another crew would make them where they could do it more consistently.
Yeah, and that's just not, that's great if we can find I do believe we can get the people and we can train the crew up, but there's also equipment and all, that's not super cheap to do that. But in the long run, it's probably still more cost effective than paying contractors.
It is, like, in Pollard, Mr. Cole he actually bid that out to hire a contractor. And the whole point that started out with Pollard was we were going to do storm sewers where we could change out the water lines and the sewer lines, because HUD wouldn't pay to do that, but HUD would pay to do the storm sewer, and the HUD would pay to pave it back, which was too expensive cost. And our crew did it for $167,000, because that was the thing. We have talented staff with the highest water licenses you can get in the state of Kentucky. So we used our people to do it. Tony and I had to, we had to fight to use our crew, because it was 3 times the cost to hire a contractor than it was for our guys to do it.
And there's no doubt we have, as far as like the talent to do it, there's no doubt in my mind that our guys can do any of this stuff. And when you get to the size of like a 16-inch main or something like that,
You gotta go.
Yeah.
It gets a little bit more difficult.
So there'd be some valuation there, but I think we could get a lot accomplished off the list with the bond issue.
And when I asked if we had staff, wasn't talking about their expertise, talking about, we have
yeah.
enough
Bodies,
people.
bodies
Yeah.
is what you were talking about.
Yes.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I was just trying to stress the confidence that we have in our people. It's not the fact that they can't do the work, it's physically not having enough people to actually go around.
All right, some of these things, moving on, probably really quickly we can do that. Like the wastewater treatment plant groundbreaking.
We're now
You're kind of-
shooting for the 24th, I think. We had a breakdown between the state and federal officials being here, so we're now shooting for the 24th, and we haven't come up with a time, I don't think.
No, I think Erica and I discussed this, and we were gonna reach out to the representative's office and basically work with someone to where, tell us the time you can be available, or if you can do it on that day, we'll make it happen.
So, I mean, you all, just Commissioner Martin and Mark and Hall, you all just let us know, and you work it out. Very good, excellent, okay.
And I assume we're still talking the same venue, same type of thing?
Transportation.
Change of day, so.
Okay. Let's see, public communication method. What that one is.
I think
It's a different method.
maybe Corporation Council could
Oh,
address
okay.
his concerns about that. That's what
One of the ideas that we've kicked around with the IT team is possibly coming up with a city app that kind of points and backbones off of the city's website. There are other cities that do that. I could send to you all to check out. But basically, it runs very interconnectedly with the city's website, and you can do push updates, push notifications. Essentially, you wouldn't have to go to a third-party group. You could actually, anybody on their phone or computer could go to the city's own application, and everything would be right there. They get real-time updates. It could be linked in with social media if you wanted it to be, but it could give you some real-time feedback, real-time communication method to and from commission, staff, directors. It's just an idea that we might be able to present to you if that's something you might be interested in. And it would not be at a significant cost. Basically, like I said, it would work off the already existing website and kind of direct to and from it. So
Okay.
wouldn't be a major change, just a forward-facing.
Conference center update, I mean, just, we'll hit that briefly, but to let everybody know that we're planning on a business after hours on the 26th of this month. And it'll be at the Paramount. And we're working out details. Mr. Wheeler and I are with Venue Works. It'll be kind of an introduction of Venue Works. Of course, they're gonna do their own catering there and food service, so that'll be available. And during that time, they're gonna have
they were going to
new
put up,
renderings.
they were going to put up the
The renderings?
renderings
Yes,
of the
of the
conference.
conference center. So it'll be kind of a joint deal with this business after hours, and we've already secured the date through the chamber.
Is that from 5 to 7?
Yes. The typical business after hours
Okay.
deal.
And they're passed, on schematic design, they've passed the 75% threshold. Venue Works is, my understanding is they're heavily involved in finalizing and finishing out the actual operational and functionality with AP3 and Branch Center Carroll and the design team. Still scheduled to open in fall 2027.
Yeah, they're getting ready to, I think they're gonna start fencing off the parking lot after this business after hours and to begin demolition of those attached buildings.
When will that start, you say?
After the business after hours.
After the business after
Yeah.
hours, okay.
Yeah, and then there'll be some utilities that'll need to be moved from, and some other, more structural type components. And then once the building starts going up, it's apparently gonna go up relatively quick, is what they're saying.
Can we segue into the lighting of the Paramount parking lot?
I think it's already been done, isn't it, Barry? Director Adkins got with AEP and has already got that handled. You can go ahead and, Barry, explain. But
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we already got that, like Andrew said, we already got that completed. Got a little cost here if anyone's interested in what exactly we did. So, we installed 124 watt LED floodlights. So the Paramount parking lot had one floodlight over there closer to the dance studio, so we wanted to brighten it up, for safety purposes and for other things. So we got the APs and got five floodlights installed. I haven't actually been down there to see it, but
it looks good, and it had some issues in the parking lot and a couple of police responses, so hopefully it'll be helpful with that. It'll also be helpful for when construction starts and protection of assets and equipment. Ryan Conley and his IT team, they're also working on updated surveillance and tech that eventually will be working seamlessly with the Paramount and the conference center. So they're looped in with that.
When do you look for construction to start on the conference center?
I mean, I think, well, I mean, you'll start seeing people there after the
After the business
after hours, and I think it'll just be kind of a
They'll be
fluid.
fencing it off, you'll know what's going on.
It'll be pretty fluid after that. It's just, it'll take some time to get it going with the utilities and
Okay.
you know, there's electric and water and gas and everything underneath. Might have to be dealt with.
What about the Paramount Capital Improvements?
Howard Harrison and AP3 are discussing what types of items really need to be dealt with. We certainly know the boilers will need to be addressed sometime soon, and we're also working on a couple different funding ideas for that. So hopefully we'll have one of the possible funding opportunities may be opening up soon that we might be able to apply for. I'll get with Erica and Michelle about that, and then we may have a couple other funding ideas. So.
Okay.
Did you get that boiler company that I sent to you?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, we're working on a couple of different paths with that.
And I've got a couple other ones too that I can forward to you.
It's not been as smooth as what it otherwise could have been, and you know, appreciate Venue Works and Matt Hammond, HR Cook, and those guys for bearing with us over the last month.
But just FYI, I was talking about the lighting. Mr. Atkins and I've been working on getting some string lights across Winchester Avenue. He's dealing with AEP to make that happen.
Which blocks?
What's that?
Which blocks?
The downtown blocks that are
Okay.
1500
okay.
along that area. My idea was to, you know, we've got the cabling when we put up the Christmas lights.
Right.
To put them all right back up there, but it's evidently more of a big deal than I thought, so Barry's working through it. Let's go back up to the top here and go down our health insurance committee. Do we have an update on that, or it's on here for discussion?
We can absolutely form a new one. It's been a while since we've had a meeting. The last administration, there was some discrepancy, if you will, on who and when to meet. Typically in the past, prior to, I'll just let you know what has happened in the past, we would meet, there would be a department head from each department, finance, legal, myself, union representative, and we would meet when necessary. It wasn't like a definite thing. It was if we had a formal appeal that was filed and we needed to make a decision, I would bring it before the board and discuss whether or not to allow to pay the claim moving forward on that particular claim, to give information. And then annually for renewals, to provide the renewal numbers, any additions, any changes, modifications that we would want to do. At that time, we would do those for annual renewals. And that's
Why did the committee go away?
the past administration.
Oh. Oh, okay.
Simple answer to a lot of questions.
So what do we need to do, Mr. Wheeler, to enact that again? Or maybe it's already done.
My understanding, there wasn't a formal ordinance that established a committee before.
I think it was just a motion.
Yeah, probably we could do something similar. Maybe allow us to come up with the structure of that and maybe a meeting time frame and come back to you maybe at the next meeting, and it could be by motion or resolution. I don't think it needs to be a formal ordinance for something like that.
And any recommendation, you know, in the past, there have been a commissioner set on the committee, and there's been times when there was no commissioner, so it's fluid. We can absolutely set it up however.
I was on there for about 6 years and never remember a commissioner sitting on a meeting.
Resolved a lot of issues.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that'll be good. All right, what is,
Parking adjustments.
property violations? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we can go down that list if you want. The first one
Yeah.
you listed was the AEP building on the corner of 17th and Central. As far as code enforcement and fire is concerned, we've pretty much exhausted all the bullets in our chamber to where we are citing them.
We've done the 4 times,
That was-
property tax.
That was approved at the last code enforcement board meeting. That information's been sent to finance and to the PVA. We are sort of just stuck in that cycle. There's not a lot more we can do from code enforcement except to have it barricaded, which he's done, but that, that's breached almost weekly. I will say
Maybe
this.
nightly, who knows?
Yeah. So we've been working with Andrew Wheeler in City of Ashland's legal department, and I know he's been working tirelessly to try to find a resolution. I think he has a way forward. I'm not sure that's ready to be discussed in public yet.
We can't talk about it. I mean, I can probably brief you on executive session on it, but from
Okay. But you're
we can't talk about it publicly.
What about Steckler's?
Steckler's building, the price was just dropped. It's listed with Missy Atkins at Ross Realty. They had an offer and acceptance as recently as 3 weeks ago. The offer fell through at the end, I think after they did their due diligence and walked through and realized what the actual cost of renovating that building would be. So as it stands right now, it's, again, in our code enforcement cycle, notice of violation citation, hearing in front of the code enforcement board.
Is there a lawsuit pending in it?
That suit was resolved. It was a foreclosure.
So there is not now.
There is not currently one, no. And our code enforcement, taxes are paid up at last check, and our code enforcement fines are, I mean, they're not really significant enough that litigation would likely resolve it.
Basically the same for the Corby's building. It's a little different case in that you had an owner, Corby Stoll, who passed away, and it's a little complicated by the ownership and probate dynamics of his death. But it is also listed through Missy Atkins at Ross Realty. They're also in the code enforcement cycle, notice of violation citation and hearing of code enforcement.
I guess Gene Jackson is a little bit different situation.
May have something to present to you all
Right.
within the next 30, 60 days, hopefully quicker, but.
That's good.
Okay.
Okay, employee structure.
What about the parking adjustments?
We've talked about that.
Oh, you, okay.
I'm thinking, guys, maybe we go for a few more minutes, 3 o'clock, that's 3 hours.
We also have
Well, what? Yes, we do. All right, let's see. Major utility projects update.
Do you need to try to tackle that along with the quarterly thing? Isn't there a?
Barry has a spreadsheet too.
Yeah,
Okay.
Mary's missing that.
Yeah, me and Mark, we have a spreadsheet here with a handful of projects, and all these projects are projects that we're doing within the city that are over $500,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so, we have the start date, the anticipated completion date, the current cost, the funding source, and then we have comments, but the comments are just very, for the public's sake, very generic. This is the basic purpose of the project, this is what we're doing. So the first one that we have is, Florida Street, August Drive, and Johnson Fork pump station upgrade. So this started in September of 2024, and anticipated completion is in fall of 2026, so this year. The cost is a little over $2.7 million, and this is funded through ARPA funds. And just to give a broad overview of what the project is, it's to install one 40 GPM rated booster pump station with chlorine feed system at Johnson Fork, a 22 GPM booster pump station at August Drive, and one 22 GPM booster station at Florida Street. And the basic purpose of this project is to increase water pressure. Another one is Logtown tank rehab. So we actually just recently did this project out. Just voted on it, I believe, a couple of meetings ago for approval to the contractor. So we anticipate that the start date will start in the spring. So where this is an interior and an exterior rehab on a tank, it has some has some paint that's going to be applied, and for correct paint temperature and conditions, we need to wait till the spring to allow the time to set up. The cost on this one is $502,170, and it's being paid through utility capital. Another one of the bigger projects that we have going on right now is our sewer lining project. So this project started back in March of '25, and we anticipate that it will be completed in March of '26. The cost for this project is a little under $2.3 million, and it is also being paid for by ARPA funds. The basics of this project is we're installing cured-in-place pipe to approximately a little over 11,000 linear feet of sewer lines in the city of Ashland. And that's from pipe ranging anywhere from 8 inches to 24 inches. And it's worth mentioning and noting that the cost for lining the sewer line is much, much cheaper than what it is to open trench replace the sewer line. Another project is Pollard Mills Phase 4. So this project started in January of '25 and it's anticipated completion in spring of '26. The current cost is $924,000 and it is funded through ARPA and the general fund. The scope of this is a streetscape project that includes the installation of concrete gutters, curbs, sidewalks, retaining walls, those type of items. And that project has been delayed a handful of times for really causes that are outside of our hands, but they've been up and rolling and doing well on it. Cold weather has slowed them down a little bit. The concrete pours and driveway pours and all those types of things. But I think we're expecting to get some better weather next week, so they're going to get back at it. And I think Mark has a couple capital projects to get next week.
Yeah, first I'll talk about the lead service line identification project. As you guys know, this is something that's required by EPA. This is not something we can jump in and do on our own. It's something that's an EPA requirement. We started in June 2024. This is kind of a perpetual project for many, many years. But this phase of the project roughly will be finished through the winter of 2028. The cost is $542,880 for this current phase. It's important to mention that we have a forgivable loan. That's 100% forgivable loan. It's I don't have the exact. I think it's $837,000. It's $800 and some $1,000, so that it will cover the balance of this whole project. Ultimately, EPA is requiring us to go in and identify the service line material on both the city side of the meter and also the customer side of the meter. So that's what this project does. Just to give an idea of where we are at this point, we're still in the identification phase. We actually need to go out, and we've been doing this through, citizens are probably aware, they've seen the door knocking campaign that we had. We've had help with EPA.
Yeah, we got phone calls on some of them.
Sending contractors in to help us do that at no cost. And basically, the way this is set right now, once we identify about 800 more services visually by inspecting them, they can use that data and plug it into a machine learning tool, like an AI tool basically, and it will populate our system to say, lead here, non-lead here, whatever. And then at that point, we will go in and do, be required to probably follow up and test like 800 to make sure that it's correct. So there is things in place that doesn't require us to go in and necessarily identify each and every one visually. This is approved by the Division of Water, so it'll help cut down on costs. Another thing to touch on is a pretty big project that's nearly complete. Roberts Drive Pump Station Bar Spring started in April 2025, and January 2026 is actually what we have as completion date. We are down to the point of troubleshooting like HVAC, that type of stuff, creating a punch list, of doing a final walkthrough, creating a punch list. But we're down to, putting, checking paint, things like that. So this project is effectively, for all practical purposes, completed. Other than, doing the final pay apps and all that stuff. It's went great. I should have mentioned the first project, it was funded with utility capital, but reimbursed through that loan. This is an ARPA project. Roberts Drive is an ARPA project. $2.9 million for this project. And the bar screens themselves, what it does is it replaces a set of manual screens that required employees to enter into a confined space daily and sometimes more than once a day to go in and physically remove the debris, cut down on overtime, safety concerns, all those types of things. But like I said, that project's basically effectively over. And just to mention, that's also the same contractor that's doing that project is doing Johnson Fork and also the treatment plant. The last thing is the treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant, or the WRRF. Start date was December 2025, anticipated completion of June 2029. $99.782 million. Funding sources, CSO, KIA, ARPA. Anything else, Michelle? Oh, there's a couple of.
It'll be a bond issue.
STAG grant and
bond issue.
Bond issue, and that's for the STAG grant will be for the engineering. The contractors are currently on site. They did a lot of site preparation. They're currently in the process of preparing the footings, basically, or the locations for the buildings, for the blower building, the dewatering building, and the admin building, including the installation of what they call ram aggregate piers. And basically, rammed aggregate piers, basically the ground is not the greatest. There's 4 large structures there. So it's something that they're using to be able to they drive these, just continue to drive pilings down into the ground, basically, to be able to support the structure.
All right, spent a lot of money.
Yes.
All right, well, about time, so.
I have one more.
Can I, sorry.
I
I just want to tag on to this real quick on the capital projects. We currently have 2 members of the commission meeting each month.
Correct.
And I was wondering if we could do this on a quarterly, have a quarterly capital project meeting with the entire elected body, which I think would be much more.
Well, I would love to have, like the
beneficial.
top 5, or, whatever we want to call it, just an update, so the general public in our commission meetings can hear what's going on. I mean, that's a
Would you
lot
rather
of
do that?
money, what they just,
It's, it's pretty time consuming if you go, if you really want to understand capital projects.
Right, yeah.
Maybe once a month, just a
Yeah.
brief, similar overview.
Yeah.
Like this. If we did in, detailed, that's my point I was actually gonna bring up, would, maybe do it once a quarter
Yeah,
or something.
quarter
So-
maybe rather
Yeah.
than once a month,
Yeah,
rather
yeah.
6
Yeah.
weeks or
Yeah.
something.
So instead of us having the monthly meeting, we have a quarterly meeting with all 5 of you?
Well, just at a city meeting,
City meeting, okay, so we
Yeah.
do away with the
yeah.
capital projects?
Be a
Be a
discussion on.
10,
That would be a long
15-minute
meeting.
discussion at a meeting.
Okay, that would probably add on, would it be fair to say an hour to the meeting?
If we went through it in the level of detail that we do in the capital
Yes.
meeting, yes.
Well, but if you went through it in the detail
If we
you
gave
just
that
did,
little
and
highlight
Yeah,
right
taking
there.
the
any
top
questions,
Okay.
probably half hour, 40 minutes.
Yeah,
Okay.
because, city manager, normally we cover projects that might even be at $50,000, like.
Gotcha.
Sometimes we do a pump or something like that.
That's right, yeah,
It
yeah.
wouldn't be even though it's a lot of money, it wouldn't be at the level that these projects are.
So are we talking once a quarter or?
Well, that's
once-
what we're
Okay,
discussing, I think, once a
And
quarter
if you
will be
wanted to,
landing.
you could even do it at the end of the, after your new business,
Right.
and then go into it so that the folks that are interested in it can
Can
stay.
stay or
But,
not.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I mean, if there's a desire to have a special meeting, you know, it's always your guys' choice for us to cover it in a special meeting.
Okay, I got you, thank you.
Does that cover what you wanted to?
Yeah, and then one more thing, the joint work session with the county.
Yeah, we just need to come up with a date. If you'll allow me or one of y'all or other, we'll just work and arrange it.
I think we, in my opinion, we leave it up to you, maybe we even invite Catholic Church.
Well, let's join, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But I can work that out, it's no problem. What I would have a question though was, the structure of it, and maybe that I get with Mr. Wheeler on how we do that and have a joint meeting. Do we, I'll have to get with you to understand
Yeah,
how
we-
that
we
would
can-
flow.
It's not, we can do it.
Yeah.
We've done it before.
Yeah, we have.
Susan be
I
jumping
remember we
for
did it at the
tables.
fire station.
All right.
Can I have one question? As we start the budget process, I've had some people reach out. When do people need to come if they're in the, like the gifts and contributions? I had somebody reach out, when do I need to be here to pitch my thing on this, on my organization?
There is no gifts and contributions anymore. Now, the CDBG committee meets Tuesday, maybe? I need to pay more attention to Jacob. The organizations then could pitch for the CDBG money. The only other thing that we already agreed to fund is we fund Summer Motion and we fund POGE every year.
Well, this specifically was Summer Motion that reached out to me and said, when do I need to be at a meeting?
It would be with the budget hearings. They've asked for more money.
Yeah.
Because it's America 250 and they want to do extra stuff. She's already made a contribution, so it'll be part of your all's budget packets.
Yeah, those meetings not been set yet.
Not been set yet, but
Yeah.
Probably early.
they were worried that they needed to be here
Early
today.
April.
No.
Okay.
And just to talk about 250, I did give you a list of what we are facilitating, not doing, but we're facilitating these events. So this is a list of them. If you got questions, just ask me, and I'll probably talk to you individually of what we're doing.
And we should
All
have
right,
a bus
so,
app this month.
What's that?
We should have a bus app this month.
Oh,
Good,
yeah,
good.
I'm excited about that
Great.
too. The bus app that will, where they can
Tell you where the bus
GPS
is.
and tell where they're at and all that. All right, entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
To discuss individual personnel matters.
Second.
And one potential litigation.
Oh, okay, all right. And one. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Yeah.
And we probably won't do any business when we come back, so we'll go back and adjourn. no
Just same thing.
action, and
So-
we stand adjourned.
Summer motion people, do they need to come or not? No, they don't need to come.
Did you get that?
He's on
Got it.
texting me.
Got it.
Texting me during the meeting.